Hey there, film fans. I'm Jeff.
I'm Dave.
And I'm John, and welcome back to The Love of Cinema, a pod in which we'll challenge one another to discuss movies, both new and old, with a strictly positive critical eye.
That's right. And to avoid lazy negativity, we decided to make this here episode a drinking game. So anytime we say anything negative at all about the film, about each other, about your face, about your mom, you're going to hear the sound.
Damn, dude.
That sound means we need to take a drink, and we hope you drink along with us.
So, pour yourselves a glass. We're going to bring this first round to a close tonight.
Cheers.
Cheers.
That's right, people. This is the epic conclusion of our summer blockbuster face-off, where we take the highest grossing summer movie of every year and we battle them off against each other.
Epic conclusion to the first round.
Epic conclusion to the first round. Yeah, we still got to waste it.
Yeah.
Touche. 2016 to 2019 is where we stopped. You'll listen to these numbers. I'm going to throw some fucking box office numbers at you. And this was peak cinema as far as making money is concerned. Holy crap, some of these movies made a lot of money. We're doing domestic numbers only, movies that came out May through Labor Day. That's our summer domestic grosses only, top grossing summer movie of each year up against each other. This year we have 2016's this episode 2016 Finding Dory was the highest grossing summer movie, very close to some other very popular, very famous movies from some very successful franchises that were in the mix there. But Finding Dory takes the cake, 2016, and it's going to be up against Wonder Woman, 2017's highest grossing summer movie. And then in 2018, Incredibles 2. Hell yeah, I remember seeing that in theaters. I saw all these in theaters. No, I didn't. Never mind. Incredibles 2, 2018, against The Lion King in 2019. That's right, that's the live action remake.
It fucking was a live action.
Okay. The live-ish action.
The only thing live in that was the tree at the beginning.
Dave.
Yeah,
was the tree alive? Where's your stream deck? There it is. Yeah.
We both went for it, and we got canceled out.
Thanks to Dave, as always, for editing, producing all these episodes. And what else do we usually say about? I forget what else we say. It's been really fun. We got a lot of good matchups. So go back through our feed and listen to some really good competitions that we've had.
Hey, speaking of making a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
Fucking Barbie, dude. When apparently I was reading this week when Margot Robbie pitched it to Warner Brothers, or was talking to Warner Brothers, she's like, make this movie, it'll make $1 billion. So apparently Margot just can call it anytime. Don't argue with Margot. Don't argue with Margot.
Margot
It's going to cost
Robbie.
$1 billion this weekend. They say.
Doing
they say
so well.
Yeah.
$1 billion.
I was hanging out with some people the other night, and karaoke eventually started happening. And some younger guys, probably in their like early 20s, got up and sung "I'm Just Ken." Like
wow,
it's already
that's the other thing.
happening. Like everyone knew every fucking word. It was.
It's in the Billboard. It's in the Billboard Top 100.
Dude,
it's in the top 100.
This thing touched a nerve for sure. People are really feeling it. It is crazy. Mattel, you did it. You did it, Mattel.
Don't ever fucking do it again.
So hard.
And then immediately they were like, well, these are some other Mattel properties that could make some money. Immediately they started.
Wasn't it paying like $290,000 for Uno, Chief? Your job was basically just to sit there and play Uno, because that's one of the movies they're pitching.
Oh no.
Yeah, right? They've gone nuts.
Searching
Uno,
for Bobby
movie?
Fischer, but with Uno. Like a really grounded, serious drama.
They're gonna get that. Yeah. They're gonna get that wild card, the draw for a wild. Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's
it's about the opioid crisis.
Oh man.
John, what was what song did you choose at karaoke?
Champagne Supernova, Oasis.
Good call. They might be appearing together again. I heard around the traps.
No way.
Oh yeah, those brothers gonna beat the shit out of each other on stage again.
They're talking, and they might be. I think it was Glastonbury. They might be doing.
You can still take a punch in your late 50s. Get it, boys.
Yeah.
You know what?
Trust me.
You know what helps your family feuds? Millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sure.
Hey, we get together millions of dollars to tour as long as we don't.
Unless you're Queen, because you break up arguing over whose fucking recording studio you're going to use.
Mm-hmm. Glastonbury would be a great way for them to come back, though. Wasn't there one of their very first?
Well, the Spice Girls are reforming for it, and there's a rumor that Oasis might turn up as well.
Lordy,
that's some non-movie shit going on right there.
I remember I'll tie it back in, I swear. I remember Jay-Z's, I think his first appearance there in the early 90s, it was the same year that Oasis was there. And he came out and he wasn't as popular over there. So he opened up his show with the lyrics to Wonderwall. And then he turned that into one of his first big #1 singles. Everybody was like, oh my God. But, you know, he kind of took advantage of
It's
their...
one that they didn't clock him with a guitar.
It's pretty cool.
They're like, they're always on stage ready to fight.
Fucking stop that.
Who's on stage.
It's that Family Guy thing. They're like, this goes out to all the women, and Peter just runs from the back, like ready to attack the screen because he's jealous. All right, people, we're going to be talking about Finding Dory, Wonder Woman, Incredibles 2, and The Lion King. At the end of the episode, we'll let you know what we've been watching in our segment, What You've Been Watching. Maybe a little news in a second. Maybe not. Who knows? We'll see. We already talked about Barbie. That's cool. Why don't we shout our sponsors out? John, we have 2 again.
We have 2. He's back, Mr. Carlos Barroso, the beer master. That is cbarroso.beer. That's the handle if you feel like giving that man a follow for all his beer shenanigans, his beer making antics, good information on the brewing process. He's a real fanatic. Go check him out. Really great on Instagram. And also, we have some music on this episode and every single episode. And it is always provided by the artist Dasein, Dasein. You can find his music available for free. Well, not super free, actually. You need to subscribe to the usual music platforms, and then you will be able to download it. It is great. It's getting a large following. Get in there. Enjoy yourself.
But don't you upload any of it?
Yeah, of course. Without permission.
Shit's going to get flagged. Any other news, any other details you want to share before we get into this shit going on?
Not really news, but just since we might be one of the only sources of information for some people who listen to this. The AMPTP sat down yesterday with the Writers Guild back in negotiations, so I don't think anything was settled yet. But it is nice to know that at least one of these groups are talking again.
Just come back into the house and stand on the X. Yeah.
Let's move into round 1. Let's play some Dasein for 10 seconds and pretend like we took a break, and then we are going to hit you with our first round, our first matchup for the day, which is Finding Dory, 2016's highest film, against Wonder Woman, 2017's highest film. Coming at you, Love of Cinema, right now. Let's fucking go.
As usual, I'm going to give you the top 10 domestic from the numbers, and then Jeff will give us some context for the rest of the year.
Fuck yeah.
But this is 2016, so Finding Dory is #1, very cleanly #1 for the entire year that I have according to the numbers domestic. Number 2, Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, which I still say is out of that whole new generation of films. I think that's the best one for me in my book.
Agree.
I love that.
I tend to agree with that.
I rewatched it recently.
Yeah, I think it's great, and I like Andor.
Can't wait for the sequel.
What's his name? Who made that? Gilroy. Who's the
Tony
writer?
Gilroy.
Tony also did Michael Clayton and all the Bourne movies. Anyway, number 3, Captain America: Civil War, which I know a lot of people in the Marvel fandom universe are huge fans of Winter Soldier and Civil War for how they were able to kind of start to use individual characters' movies as a way to bring in the stories of Marvel characters and the Avengers around them. So these are 2 good examples, and Civil War being a really obvious example of how the stakes were raised for the Avengers outside of an Avengers movie by creating conflict with these single stories. So
yeah,
I thought that one was cool.
My wife doesn't like that one, the end of it, because like she's like, I don't want my superheroes with flaws. I got enough people around me with flaws. I took that a little personally, but you know,
they're humans. This is all we got to call it out too. That's the introduction to Senior Tom Holland as Spider-Man. I think everybody was super excited about that.
Everybody was super excited. I was super excited about that.
Oh yeah. Number 4, Secret Life of Pets. I never saw that, you guys. I think that's a DreamWorks.
Yeah.
I don't think it's Pixar. Yeah, Universal released it, so maybe it's an independent company. I'm not sure. Number 5, The Jungle Book. Favreau making that one. It's one of these live action Disneys we're going to be talking about.
That was literally the rehearsal for The Lion King, which we're talking about later.
Yeah, there's some cool. I haven't seen all the Jungle Book.
It won Best Visual Effects.
Some of it. Yeah, I mean, really, we're going to talk all about those new technologies in a little bit, so we'll move on. Number 6, Dave's Dave's favorite movie of this year, for sure. Maybe one of his favorite movies of all time at this point. The first, Deadpool. Ryan Reynolds attacking it, coming out of nowhere, really lobbying to get that character into the verse. And then it was an R-rated comedy. It broke some ground that way, and obviously laid way for a sequel.
I still think he was the one leaked that clip. He'll deny it till he's dying, David. I'm pretty sure he was the one leaked that clip.
Very possible, but hilarious, really fun. Fun sequences in that movie. Number 7, Zootopia. Again, I didn't see it, you guys. I feel like maybe I fucked up on that one.
It is worth it for the sloth DMV scene.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, I have seen it. That is the only. I remember that scene. Okay, that's good. Number 8, Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Ellipses.
Whatever.
What's the subtitle there?
Justice.
Dawn of Justice. There you go. I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I think we were all still living together when I did this. There is a director's cut of that. Yeah, of course, there's a director Snyder cut of this thing, and it is way better than the theatrical release. It's so much longer. It's shamefully longer than the theatrical cut, but it's way better.
Batman smacks people up the wall, and there's a blood stain. It's like you can tell he's killing and hurting people. It's like but
the story makes so much more sense.
It does.
Number 9. Another one that I'm going to assume very confidently, since we've talked about at least one of these movies on this podcast, and I'm friends with this guy. Dave, what'd you think of Suicide Squad when it first came out? Was it like, fuck yeah for you?
It was about 90% fuck yeah.
Okay. Number 2, you liked a lot more because it was in the hands of...
Well, no, the second one I liked a lot more because it didn't feel as contained as the first one, because they famously said the movie he submitted is not the movie that got released. So
he directed both of them?
No. This was David Ayer. Doing that. He submitted that film and it was cut to pieces, the soundtrack changed around. They deleted half the Joker and Harley footage. A different character dies at the end, apparently, in the Ayer cut. And there's a movement similar to the Snyder thing to try and get the Ayer cut of that released. But it'll never happen.
That's okay.
Yeah, I mean, they missed the boat. They missed the boat on it. Let it die.
They moved the soundtrack
We
around.
have a good one. Yeah, no. In his version, there was not a single pop song in his version.
Oh, wow, I would have liked to see that because I do think that's quite a crutch for those movies, even though it's a fucking great soundtrack. But at number 10, and I'll shut up, Doctor Strange, the first one. The only one that's worth talking about.
Yeah.
I did enjoy that one. Sure, yeah, I'll drink for that. But I think everyone on planet Earth agrees with me.
Yes,
even Sam Raimi probably agrees with us after that battle. But yeah, that's the 10. All Jeff, what happened with the rest of the year?
So those were domestic numbers. Internationally, we're getting a lot of this going on. 4 movies were grossed $1 billion. That would be
God damn.
4 movies that came out this year, and some of this money was obviously made the next year, 2017. But Captain America: Civil War made 1.1, Rogue One, Finding Dory, and Zootopia all crossed the $1 billion mark. Jungle Book was just shy at $950 million. Also, Fantastic Beasts came out and made a lot of money internationally, not so much here in America. It was not in our top 10. Sing and Moana were in there. So again, these animated movies making a ton of money. And X-Men Apocalypse were in there. So 85 movies made $100 million worldwide. And that included movies like How to Be Single, Dirty Grandpa, 10 Cloverfield Lane. 20 movies made $400 million. So Independence Day Resurgence was not one of them, by the way. Nor was was Star Trek Beyond or The Great Wall. Those movies kind of underperformed at $300 and something million. But anyway,
sucked.
Wow. No, Beyond doesn't suck. Come on.
Disney. So anyway, this is a year of like records. So I'm just going to give you some fucking records and then some awards. So Disney's the first studio to have 3 films gross $400 million domestically in a single year. Those would be Rogue One, Finding Dory, and Captain America: Civil War. And all 5 of the top 5 slots, which again, billion, 950. The top 5 slots are all Disney properties. Really funny that we talked about Bob Iger at the top of this thing. Deadpool became the second highest grossing R-rated comedy of all time, or R-rated movie of all time. Behind, what was it? What was number 1? The highest R-rated movie domestically.
Deadpool.
No, but before Deadpool was number 2. What was it? We talked about it a couple weeks ago. The Passion of the Christ. It became the highest grossing R-rated movie worldwide.
I said Jesus organically, by the way.
Yeah, that's right.
I wasn't referring to the lead character of that film.
Zootopia became the highest grossing original animated film of all time, surpassing Finding Nemo. I thought Frozen was higher than that, so I don't know what the fuck's going on with this thing.
Wow.
And along with Finding Dory, it's
Frozen
the first time that
legs.
2 animated movies had $1 billion in the same year. Secret Life of Pets grossed $100 million domestically in its opening weekend. which was the highest opening for an original film of all time. $104 million for The Secret Life of Pets. All the other $100 million, but I guess Barbie fucking, this other shit that probably has beat that since then. Sausage Party became the highest grossing R-rated animated film of all time.
And was accidentally shown to children in at least one theater.
Whoops. Warcraft became the highest grossing video game adaptation of all time. The anime film Your Name became the highest grossing anime film of all time. And Dangal became the highest grossing Indian film of all time. And The Mermaid became the highest grossing film in China of all time. So literally, like, this is the year 2016 when the money just fucking exploded and literally it's records all over the place. Yada, yada, yada. Let's get to the awards and then I'll punt back to you guys. I'm not doing all the million movies. There's a million. It was like 5 years ago.
Yeah, we got 20 minutes left.
I don't even see your timer. That wasn't my fault this time. This is famously the La La Land versus Moonlight year. So Damien Chazelle does a clean sweep for directing, and I think City of Stars did for some fucking reason. I cannot believe that is like the obvious Oscar best song, but all right, I guess it's really touching. Justin Hurwitz's score was a clean sweep as well.
I agree with you, but I gotta hit you just because of how you said it.
Barry Jenkins did get an Oscar for Moonlight. I don't think he got Best Picture, but he did get it as a co-script writer for Moonlight. So even though Damien Chazelle so everybody spread the wealth. Weird. This is a really fun little aside. Moonlight was based on a play that was never produced. So most of the awards put the Moonlight screenplay in original screenplay, since the category was it can't be based off of something that was published or produced. The play wasn't, but the Oscars decided that it was original material. That's all that it was, is original material. So therefore it went into the adapted screenplay category, which it won. And original screenplay would go on to Manchester by the Sea for Kenny Lonergan. So it actually probably worked out for the best for Barry Jenkins. The acting awards went to Casey Affleck for Manchester by the Sea. Mahershala Ali won his first of 2 for Moonlight. Let's not forget, Mahershala Ali has 2 Oscars. I feel like that's a name that doesn't get mentioned very much, considering he has more Oscars than Al Pacino. Emma Stone wins for La La Land somehow, beating Isabelle Huppert and Natalie Portman for Jackie.
Yeah.
I mean, she's great, but that was a surprise for people. And Viola Davis did a clean sweep for Fences in the supporting category, which she probably would have won in the leading category, but oh well. And then another big story this year, this is OJ Made in America, which is one of the best documentaries I've ever seen. But it's funny because it actually was an ESPN 30 for 30 documentary that they just decided to make 7 hours long. And so what they did is they aired it in Los Angeles and New York for theaters that were largely empty because everybody could watch them on ESPN all the time. And so they played to empty theaters and won an Oscar. So ESPN won an Oscar for this, even though it was 99.9% of the people who saw it on television. And the other ones I want to shout out are Arrival and Hacksaw Ridge.
Arrival.
Right. Yeah, Arrival is
any others you want to shout out before we get into Finding Dory?
Nope.
Jeff, do you remember where we were when we saw Fantastic Beasts?
Didn't we go into Times Square? We were in New York. Me and you. Why were we outside? Oh my God, we saw that. We went to. Oh yeah.
Yeah, we were so hungover. We went the
oh my God, those tacos I ate were so spicy at that truck. Okay.
I think I'll call out Midnight Special.
Oh,
do you guys remember that one?
Yeah,
Michael Shannon. Let's go.
That was cool. I wanted to give that one a shout out. Swiss Army Man, the Daniels.
I watched the end of that one day. I got really busy. Something came up, and I never saw the end of it.
You should watch the end of that one.
No, they look great.
Yeah, I think. All right, I'll chill on that for now. Loving.
Really Loving's good. Ruth Negga, shout out.
Cool. Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Finding Dory. This is, of course, Andrew Stanton, who won Oscars for Finding Nemo. He's the co-writer, co-director of Finding Dory and Finding Nemo, and he also worked on fucking A Bug's Life, and I believe he also won for WALL-E. So he's obviously been in the Pixar family for a while. So he co-directed this. Andrew Stanton co-directed this with Angus MacLean, and the writers are Andrew Stanton and Victoria Strauss. Yada yada yada. I think we get the picture. This is all Dory centric. This movie's fucking great. Made $1 billion. What do you guys want to say about it? You guys rewatch it? I actually had never seen it before, like 2 days ago.
Wow. You missed it? I didn't rewatch it.
I missed it.
I watched it when it came out, and I never watched it again. It just did not strike a note with me at all. It was like the same jokes recycled, and they padded out a movie around a gag they set up in the first one.
Are you heartless?
And in your prep for this episode as a podcast host, you chose not to watch it again. Good.
So you despised this movie 4 years ago. We also had an extra week this year. We took last week off basically, and you still didn't rewatch this hour and a half.
And you just didn't rewatch it.
I didn't like it.
Come on, dude.
I didn't like it at all.
Oh man, Dave, outlier. All right. I know what I'm voting for at the end of this one. Just
I
to be
fucking
that
know
guy.
exactly what I'm voting for.
I know what I'm doing.
God, I can't believe this is up against Wonder Woman. Fuck. Okay.
All right. Well, let me call this out because I think this is going to give us a mode of conversation. Because I want to hear what you're talking about, Dave. I want to hear it applied to Dory, and it'll open up. There's this concept known as the Pixar arc. And it really got established, and I don't think it came out of Pixar, even though they clearly were using it and applying it, but critics started talking about it when their sequels started becoming so successful, critically and commercially. They have found a way, and you can look at it, and it really is true. And it's an example of how they've had so much success with very raising the bar criticism on sequels. Remember, old school Disney animation, their sequels would go straight to video. They usually didn't think of them as a really ascendant next step in their characters' lives.
Yeah, like Lion King
tapes.
Yeah, there was a whole side department that their job was to make those.
Yes,
and the actors were like, you got to pay me more. And they said, fuck it, we'll recast you. Nobody gives a shit.
So the theory behind this arc is that in a sequel, you create the same story arc for your characters in the original. You just replace the characters. So your protagonist or your supporting will experience the same thing they experienced in the first one, but with somebody new this time. So with Finding Dory, just to give you that example, Dave, I don't know if you remember that character, but Hank the octopus, who she meets kind of a third of the way.
Ed O'Neill.
He's basically Marlin from the first one. And we can go down the line. You can talk about this, the Toy Story 2, 3, all of these things. And I think it works. I think it's one reason why we don't ever have conversations about how Pixar sequels or whatever departed so far away from what we're used to. Like, it definitely keeps you in that same feeling of the movie. They feel the same. And for me, I thought this was, I guess I'll just comfortably disagree with you. I think this is a really successful one. Yeah, I love Finding Nemo, so maybe I love the sweet spot, the world. I like watching them go through those kinds of journeys again. I like how they displace Marlin. I love the shift. Obviously, it's called Finding Dory. I know that sounds obvious, but it's still striking to me when I watch this movie that Marlin and Nemo are pushed so far to the side. They're a part of her journey, but they're physically away from her for a good part of it, and they're together the whole time. So it makes you just see the movie differently. It's so cleanly no longer about Nemo being gone and Marlin having to overcome something. So just talking about the Pixar arc, does it bother you?
I mean, it does and it doesn't. Like, it's the same as with the Marvel formula. Like, the movies are formulaic as well. Every time Disney buys a property, they settle it into a formula. And I mean, it didn't bother me that's what they did, although it really didn't give me anything new. Like, to play with. And don't get me wrong, I've seen Finding Nemo like 15,000 times.
Yeah.
And I love it. It's a fantastic film. Dory, I went in, I think, with high expectations, and it didn't get to where I was expecting it. Yeah.
I just feel like everything about it works, unless you have the issue that I was talking about. If you don't like that it's kind of the same in some of the arcs, then you'll agree with me. But man, I just feel like it's airtight. It's super clean. So we can always say that for Pixar. They're aiming at kids and families, and I think they've pulled that off. But this time, what I was thinking about more than anything else was how outstanding their moment-to-moment performances are and the jokes.
Oh my God.
Like, how much commentary, every side little character, every tiny little world. There's a lot of new environments because she goes to the Marine Center in Morro Bay here in California, about 3.5 hours north of LA. And she goes into like an aquarium style. So there's all these environments, and everyone she encounters, the jokes are great. The comedy's there, and all of it somehow either progresses the environment, gives you character development in the environment, or moves the story forward. Like, the efficiency of it was just so outstanding. And I don't know, maybe I'm a sucker, but I feel like my heartstrings get pulled every time every time I watch these movies, and I really felt it by the end of this. Every time she would have a reunion with somebody along the way, it got me. I thought the justification of her having emotional sense memory to the actual places works. It's not just her out of the ether remembering. They're all cued from something physical and sensual. And then the final reunion with her parents, and then after the reunion with her parents, bringing it back into the mission
immediately be
of
like, "Hey, Mom and Dad, so good to finally see you again. Gotta go."
But then finding the new family, she lost her new family. That works for me.
And
I
when
really,
she
really
says
love
to
the
them,
structure.
but they're my family. Gosh,
Yeah,
John!
yeah.
Oh my God!
Gosh. I did watch this one today, and I mean, y'all, I teared up like twice.
Teared up twice.
Really
Oh my
did.
God! Okay, so I watched this with Angela, who loved this movie and was so excited to watch it with me, even before I knew that it was going to be on our list. I had no idea. She was like, she found out that I said I was watching Finding Nemo, and she's like, "Wow, you ever see Finding Dory?" I said no. She sent me a thing that was Finding Gerald. Gerald's a little sea lion that they don't let up on the rock.
Oh my God, that
With the
character's
little
so funny, dude.
So I wanted more Gerald. I wish he was like. I wish Gerald was Ed in The Lion King.
Did you
It's
stay
like
till the
there a
very
little
end
more.
credits? There's an end credit scene.
Yeah, of course we stayed till the end credit scene, dude. I fucking loved this movie, Dave. You heartless prick, man.
Yeah, Dave, I don't get it, dude. I don't get it.
From the very get-go with little Dory with the shells, and yeah, they're plotting it out a little bit of what's gonna come later, and that's great. It's totally fine. And then they're doing, I forget exactly if it's like hide and seek. They're doing some kind of like thing with her. It's of course the voice is Eugene Levy and Diane Keaton as her parents, and then she goes and she's doing the thing, and then she sees them and goes, "Uh-oh, did I forget again?" And they went, "No, and she said, "I did. What if I forget you? Will you ever forget me?" And then it goes into the Finding Dory scroll. I was like, get the fuck out of here. So I know it's
my hair's standing up on my arms.
I know it's similar to Finding Nemo. Obviously, there's these kind of escape, and they have to go find things, and they get caught and trapped, and they have to escape again, and yada yada yada. But that's the crux of the movie. Get the fuck out of here, Dave.
David.
Oh
David.
my God! When she said that, and then the little Dory starts seeing all the things, and they do it quickly. They expedite it. But when she says to like the fish, "I'm sorry, I suffer from short-term memory loss." I mean, you're just sitting there like, how are you not just completely hooked by this story? And then the majority of it takes place in this little aquarium. Ironically, the thought I had was like, oh, they're getting crazier and zanier with this movie. You know, I mean, the fish jump out of the tank and like fucking, they really risk death a lot. But I know they do in the first one, but at least they're in the ocean. But in this case, they leave they're hopping along the pavement and stuff doing these things, talking to sea lions that probably should be eating them. I mean, it is, I think everything about it is perfect, but ultimately this idea of family, you know, I know that's what the first Finding Nemo sort of was about, but like, oh God.
All the way into, Jeff and Dave, all the way to the very end, the end credits. Dave, do you remember the end credits? I wouldn't be surprised if you don't remember. I didn't remember it. But this theme of family, at the very end, you see Gil and the aquarium gang from Nemo. They finally, in their bags, wash up somehow on the coast of California, and they're like, we made it. We're never gonna, there's nothing that'll get us now. And it is, as a family, they get swooped up and taken in for rehabilitation into the aquarium. And so even that theme of family to the very end is just like,
they ruined the first one.
And they somehow died.
Oh, come on.
They somehow didn't die in their bags from not being able to eat for how many thousands of miles? What was I gonna say?
That beautiful, that wonderful world when the truck is flying, that is pure cinema, dude.
I was so just
good. The scope of it, I was just like, God, this is just beautiful. I'm just overwhelmed by the artistry.
I mean, are you guys doing a bit? You're getting way too excited over this film.
It's so
Dave, it's so good.
It made
$1
billion. It has a 94%. Fuck you, Dave.
It made $1 billion because everyone went and saw it because the fucking first one.
No, that's because of that's the Lion King that we'll talk about later. This fucking movie, it's so good. Wait, what was I gonna say? Shit, fuck, Dave, goddamn. Oh, I think the cool thing about the octopus, who's the most interesting character in this film, is that it's fucking Al Bundy. And actually, at first I was like, he's phoning it in, but then he got me at first. But he's actually more like Gollum, where she should be scared of him. I'm scared of him. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, something about this isn't right. But she needs him. Obviously, this guy so it's like, fuck, we got to work with this guy, even though we shouldn't trust him. And that tension was enough, like, because the villains in this movie are people, like I don't even really know what the villains of this movie were, but like him being an untrustworthy companion that is like the only answer but also could be a huge problem, and then his turn throughout the movie I thought was brilliantly done.
And I know
Dory's a little bit of an idiot obviously because of the short-term memory loss and all these other things, but oh god, I just thought it was it's beautiful.
Jeff, no, I completely agree. I mean, it's so obvious. You might even be scared to have made the choice because it's just the right choice, but they lean into it. Hank, without going into crazy detail and flashbacks, he's the inverse of Dory's theme. He is so traumatized by a past that we don't really know about that he doesn't want to go back to the ocean. He literally says, like, "You're lucky you can't remember. You don't have to hurt." And I mean, so just meaningful. Like the fact that they're a team. I don't know. I just think it wrote itself and is not taking credit away from them. Like they just made all the right choices. So Dave, I agree with you. We went to go see the movie because Nemo was so successful and we love the character of Dory. But I thought they hit the bar, man. I think this is a brilliant, almost perfect film.
I'd love to go back and remember what my frame of mind was when I watched this because it just did not hit for me at all.
Did you just
the Sigourney Weaver thing? Did you not laugh at the Sigourney Weaver thing?
Who hurt you, David?
Hi, I'm Sigourney Weaver. You didn't laugh at that when she's the voice of the wildlife thing? Like,
guys, I'm going to take a trip up to fucking Morro Bay. I was there not too long ago.
I'm going to go with Angela. She was talking. I got a whole thing
if
about it.
If you come over here, let's go. Let's drive
ready
up.
To go.
We'll get an Airbnb. Let's go up for a weekend.
We're picking our dates. I can't wait. We're talking to your fiance.
Fuck you, Dave.
About your dates. Yeah, Dave. We're going to fucking go to where Finding Nemo is based off of. Come on.
Yeah, I got engaged, you guys. You didn't say anything? No congratulations on air or nothing?
No. We're respecting your privacy. Oh, really?
You buzzed it.
I thought about it earlier.
All right. Well, let's move on. Dave, I respect it. I think that's okay. I think it's touching. You should rewatch it, man. I think it might be better than you think it was.
I love Dave coming into this podcast. I saw it a long time ago. I didn't like it. I'm not going to rewatch it.
I'm not seeing it again.
I got an extra week.
So funny.
There are very few movies make that list.
I can't believe well, obviously you're going to vote for
you hate very few movies.
So Dave's going to vote for Wonder Woman, but we're going to have to leave you hanging, Dave, because we got to set up the year 2017. John.
Doing it. Top 10 as usual. So Wonder Woman for the numbers for domestic only comes in at number 3 actually. So number 1 is this was Dave's initially least favorite Star Wars, and now he thinks it might be his favorite of the recent trilogy. Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. Right? That's Rian Johnson's?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Okay.
I'll give it this better, but no. It's
okay.
It's better on the rewatch, but no, it's definitely not in the favorites.
I mean, that was a big deal. December 15th. Really, I mean, you know, it still made an impact. We still went to go see it. Everybody in fucking America went to go see it. So that's number 1. Number 2, Beauty and the Beast, the live action with Emma Watson. Emma Watson. Yeah. I've never seen that, so I can't talk about it. Number 3, Wonder Woman, which we're going to be talking about. Number 4, this surprised me. Just domestic, but Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Everybody did not love that as much as we wanted to, but it's still one of the most successful of the Marvel IPs. That's surprising to me that it placed behind Beauty and the Beast. I was surprised by that. I'll just make a general comment. Kids can go see the Guardians movies. It's not one of the more adulty ones. I mean, anyway, number 5. Spider-Man Homecoming, which Dave helped me out. That's Tom Holland's first solo Spider-Man movie. Number 6, It. Fuck yeah, dude. Look at that R-rated horror drama making it into the top 10. Number 7, the best Thor movie without a doubt. Everybody knows it. Taika Waititi's intro into Marvel Universe. Thor Ragnarok. Yes. Cleaning up. Unbelievable. I'm sure if it had come out in the summer, it would have been much higher on the list for domestic, but it came out in November, so it's number 7. Number 8, Despicable Me 3. I've never seen any of those, but good job, Steve Carell. Number 9, Logan. Fuck yeah. That movie is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Who directed? God damn it. Walk the Line, The Last Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Mangold, dude. I thought that was just such a good movie. It's basically Unforgiven in the superhero world.
That's what I said. He really knows how to finish something.
Ah, man. So good.
We should talk to his sexual partners. I'm kidding.
At number 10, and I'll shut up after this, my boys are coming in strong. Fate of the Furious, bitch. Number 8, That's the 8th of the Fast and the Furious franchise coming in with. I think that's the first time we see Charlize Theron's character.
If you don't remember what 8 was about, neither does anyone else.
It's the one with the submarine. How could you forget? They drive on a glacier with a submarine chasing them that keeps bursting through the ice. It's so ridiculous.
Some other standouts: Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle would go on to make $961 million, and Despicable Me 3 made $1 billion worldwide, but was not in our top 10 domestically. How fucking crazy is that?
No, it was. It's number 8. Number 8. Despicable Me 3.
I was paying attention for sure.
Sure.
In the top 10 internationally is Sean Lang 2, which is I think the first time that we have a top 10. We have a movie in the top 10 that was from China. I mean, it only made $2 million here. So, like, obviously the international box offices have gone crazy, but it made $835 million and none here, basically. Coco had made a lot of money. Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales, yada, yada, yada. Justice League's in here. There's a lot of good shit that happened. Kong Skull Island, we saw that in person. And The Boss Baby made $500 million. Man, these things are unpredictable.
Never saw that.
Dunkirk also made $500 million, which, by the way, 19 films made $500 million or more, which is a record. 19 films made $500 million worldwide.
Good thing they saved all that money for the pandemic.
That's not how it works. They immediately needed bailouts, even because they don't have savings accounts. That when you have stocks, you don't have a savings account, and then you need bailouts every time something goes wrong because you didn't save for the fucking rainy day. Fucking hate stock market. Okay, cool. Stock buybacks are my favorite thing in the world. First time since 1958, the top 3 films, which again are Star Wars: The Last Jedi, Beauty and the Beast, The Fate of the Furious. That doesn't make any fucking sense. Well, what the fuck? Domestically.
Okay.
The top 3 films had a female main character. Well, shit. I don't know. I saw that on Wikipedia, so don't blame me. This is the year of the Weinstein Files coming out.
No, you're right, dude. Last Jedi, Beauty and the Beast, and Wonder Woman. That makes sense.
Wonder Woman. Yes, you're right. Sorry.
Yeah,
the one we're going to talk about in a second. Split, M. Night Shyamalan's film that you may remember, was this year's most profitable film in terms of return on investment, or ROI, as the business school bros like to say, having generated a 2,000% ROI. That is 20 to 1. It is the 11th film to cross the 2,000 ROI list, and the first film to do so since 2015. It made $278 million on a $9 million budget. That's what happens when you don't pay your actors and you only give them back end. Works really well.
What movie was this? Sorry, I was listening.
Split. I know you.
Wow.
I know you listen on the rewatch tomorrow.
Is anybody listening?
Wow.
The Despicable Me franchise became the highest-grossing animated franchise of all time, beating the Shrek franchise. And Dunkirk, making $500 million, makes it the highest-grossing World War II movie of all time.
Wow, holy
sad
shit.
that has its own category.
So how many fucking World War II movies are there?
Yeah, right.
God damn
It's a great fucking genre, Jeff. Shut the fuck up, dude. You fucking love World War II.
I know, those
movies,
poor
dude. They're
Germans.
so good.
Those poor Germans. They just
How
have to
excited are you for
eat
Masters
shit.
of the Air? How pumped are you for that fucking series?
I'm going. Can I go on to the awards? Yeah, I'm excited for this series. I can't wait. When we're done watching 4 movies a week, I can't wait to watch some of these series. Awards. I actually watch the 4 movies a week, Dave. Okay, awards. Shape of Water.
Done after this.
Shape of Water, affectionately called the fish fucking movie, won Best Picture. And also won Best Director for Guillermo del Toro.
Were you expecting a buzz for that? Because I'm not buzzing that.
Oh, come on.
And also won a bunch of other awards, including Best Score for Alejandro Desplat, and some technical awards. Acting awards this year went to Gary Oldman for Darkest Hour. Frances McDormand did a clean sweep for 3 Billboards. God damn it, was she good in that movie. Sam Rockwell also won for 3 Billboards in the supporting category. And Allison Janney did a full-on clean sweep for I, Tonya, beating out who I thought would get it, Laurie Metcalf for Lady Bird. Lady Bird's a fantastic movie, and Lady Bird really gave us Greta Gerwig on her own, basically, without any real help. That was fucking cool. Call Me By Your Name gave us Timothée Chalamet. That won Best Screenplay. I think it was a adapted screenplay, and it also got him nominated for an Oscar. It also showed us what it was like if Armie Hammer ate a peach full of cum. That won Best Screenplay adapted. Jordan Peele won the Oscar for original screenplay for Get Out, beating Martin McDonagh for 3 Billboards. Martin McDonagh can't catch a break. I feel like he's always number 2. Sorry, dude. Blade Runner 2049 finally gets Roger Deakins an Oscar.
About
Dave,
fucking time.
Remember Me from Coco won Best Song. And Kobe Bryant won an Oscar for an animated short film called Dear Basketball, where his budget was so much higher than every other budget that it was up against. He had so much money, he gave John Williams money to score an animated short, and it won Best Oscar. I shouldn't speak ill of the dead, but it's been a couple years now. So
I know
Bryant, congrats.
That was such a ridiculous thing. Yeah,
Lady Bird, Phantom Thread.
It was a good short.
Lady Bird, Phantom Thread. I'll throw Baby Driver out. Those are my shout outs.
I can just imagine like when they're reading out the shorts, it's like this and this and this and Kobe Bryant. And so just from the back of the theater, yeah, fuck you.
Yeah, that's right.
From one of the other contestants.
Yeah, I mean,
to borrow from Louis C.K. joke, somebody who drove a Kia Sorrento to the award ceremony was like, come on.
Yeah, seriously.
Okay, 2 years of my life in my child's bedroom making this fucking movie, and then Kobe Bryant gets John Williams.
That's so funny.
Wonder Woman, baby.
All right,
come on,
let's do
Patty
it.
Jenkins directed,
and we're out of time.
Zack Snyder, Jason Fuchs, Alan Heinberg. This, of course, stars Gal Gadot, Chris Pine, Robin Wright, among many others. We all know what it's about. 2017's highest-grossing summer movie. I rewatched it. Did you guys rewatch this movie?
Yeah,
I did not because I watched it last year, so I feel like that was like the 5th or 4th time I've seen it. I think that's enough.
Dave, since you were a heartless prick in the last episode, or last segment, you want to go ahead and talk this time first? Do you want to go?
Sure. I mean, I think you're expecting me to come out swinging for this, but it's by far not a perfect movie. Like both of these are not, in my opinion, like a really good summer blockbuster. This was a great origin film. This was
Raiders
the first,
of the Lost Ark lost.
This was the first time that Warner Brothers came even close to getting it right in a fucking long time. And it was a great character, and that's fair.
I should give you twice.
As far as the origin story goes, like it was great. Everything worked for me, but it was very much a self-contained story. It felt more like,
I agree.
It felt more like something elevated slightly out of the schlock we're used to for a summer blockbuster. But well, I mean, that's the thing.
Mean? What do you mean?
It just had a little more depth than you get from a usual summer blockbuster. There was like story in there. There was more development than you normally get in like a blockbuster film. Grant, like there were the hero sequences, like where she jumps up and runs across the guns in
the No Man's Land.
No Man's Land, like that, and that was a great thing. The reveal of the actual villain. And the battle that follows. But for me, that battle was kind of a non-event. Like, I think about the rest of the film rather than that. Like, all of her journey to get to that battle. And then, like, the battle is my least remembered thing from the film.
I think I have to agree.
Yeah, I have very complex feelings about this movie. I've seen it like 15, 20 times.
Is the inverse argument to that the substance over action, that there is a lot of weight given to the origin on the island, and then her story of adaptation, if you will, into becoming assimilated into this culture, and a love story, a very, very rich, they give a lot of time to them getting to know each other. And so do you think that there is an audience that maybe appreciated that more, or do you think objectively for a superhero movie that is something that is they could have given more time to with the action?
Well, from a DC movie, this is what you expect. Like this, from a good DC movie, this is what you expect. You expect the characters to take time getting to know each other and developing, and those relationships to take place. DC, and you see that
minus Nolan's Batmans. We're never talking about this. Is that right?
I mean, even Nolan's Batman, you get the character relationships building and stuff like that. There are action beats, but you definitely get the relationships between characters building. Even like Batman and Joker in Dark Knight, like you get that relationship. You understand that relationship and what it is for both of them. So you get that build of character, that build of connection, that build of relationship and stuff. And that's what a good DC film does. Because their characters like react differently. I want to say, like they're not as showy as the Marvel films. And I think that's why a lot of people prefer the Marvel films, because they're big and they're fun and there's quips and all that sort of stuff. And every time DC tries to do that, it fails. But yeah, I feel like this was like, it was great, and it was fantastic to see that character come to life. I don't know. It's like, despite what I said about Dory, they're sitting fairly even.
Really? I didn't know you felt that way. And just to clarify, are you saying that it's mostly because there's not a huge cathartic action sequence payoff at the end that would have justified all of that build up, or is there something else about it that it bothers you equally?
No, it was just I feel like I appreciated the journey more than the destination in that film completely. Like when we got to the fight at the end, when the fight was revealed and she had to draw on all of her power, it was spectacular. But when I think about Wonder Woman, that's not what I'm thinking. I'm thinking about like the conversations in the bar and her walking across no man's land, and you know the dance sequence and like things like that. All of those building moments that built on the relationships between the characters.
Yeah. No, I agree. I don't necessarily agree, but I hear you. I think the thing about this movie. Let me start out with a pro, because anyone who's alive, if these podcasts live on into the future and people listen to them, I think one thing we have to point out is that
aliens don't find these.
This movie came out at the perfect time.
Yeah.
The one and only Donald motherfucking Trump had just been elected, and this movie comes out, and all the women's movement momentum. This was a very strong media representation of that movement. I felt like not too long after this was the Women's March, I believe. Wasn't that 17?
That was the next day after Trump's election.
Yeah.
Literally Trump, it was actually after the election, so it was still November of 2016.
16. Okay.
An entire gender protested against Trump.
I feel like I just saw like it was already like the PR was already out there, though, even by that time. I remember walking through that march, supportively, of course, walking through it. But I was kind of just, walking around in New York and just taking it all in. And I saw so many little girls dressed up as Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking, like, fuck yeah, dude. Like, this is fucking awesome. And I thought Patty Jenkins leading this movie, it did feel like a slightly different take on what a superhero movie could be. And not just because they were a part of the DC family versus the Marvel traditional storytelling, but this one I felt like did end up being ultimately really successful. It's not even a criticism, but it's just an observation.
To clarify, like what I was saying before wasn't a criticism of the film, it's a compliment.
Okay.
Yeah.
The thing that has always been curious to me about the way that this movie climaxes, because I agree with you, the climax for me isn't necessarily the action that follows, it's her epiphany of choice and power and where that comes from. And I thought it was really interesting that in this movie, led with a female superhero, about being a really powerful woman and assimilating into modern female culture, that she falls in love and then ultimately learns how to be a hero from the man she falls in love with, sacrificing himself. That's something that I've always interpreted, and I don't really know how it could be interpreted any other way. He takes the plane up, and she's losing the battle, and he basically communicates with her one last time and says, you got to do what you got to do, kind of thing, and it's always going to be worth it. And she learns from him how to be the hero she needs to be. Now, there is obviously there's another feminist way to look at that could still be like, yeah, of course, we don't have to do this all on our own. And I think that is, clearly the message of this movie. But I just thought it was interesting that they ended up using a love story and her connection to a man to actually be the catalyst to her finding her own strength.
Yeah.
That's always just been an interesting observation that I've made from this movie. And maybe it's because of the time it came out that it just seemed I was so aware of that mindset, and I kind of went in thinking there's no way there's going to be a love story at the center of this.
We all recognize that. Yeah. I mean, that character is canon. They needed to include him. I don't know whether he should have been the source. He definitely shouldn't have been the second one. Oh my God, what the fuck was that?
He came back. Man, she did not let him go, did she? She brought his ass back.
Yeah, and the poor other bastard he inhabited for a week.
The second one was not our favorite. We talked about that one at length because that came out during the pandemic. If that movie was good, it would have been so necessary. It was like April of 2020, right? It was like May of 2020. It was right then. And we were like, no, damn it. And I feel like this movie is... It starts December. Out as I was at home in New Jersey, so December checks out. So maybe I had that wrong. So December makes sense.
Yeah, because I remember watching it around Christmas time and just going, yeah, nobody's ready for this.
You're right. You're 100% right. This movie starts out as a superhero movie. I love all of the mythology. I mean, they fuck with the Thor and
the Amazons,
and stuff. And this is the Amazons. I mean, you hear that the flight of the Valkyrie.
Robin Wright, dude.
Like, yeah, Robin Wright. Yeah. Dude, she's awesome. So it starts out as a superhero movie with like, you can't train, you don't know who you are, you don't know who your father is, and how powerful you are, and you know all this stuff. It's Elsa from Frozen. It's like all the superhero kind of stuff, the lore, the mythology. It's so great, and then it becomes a war movie, and that's like her learning how regular people walk and talk, and trying to understand war. It becomes very war centric for me. And that last sequence, if I get any more fucking lines of voiceover or dialogue from David Thewlis, aka Lupin, from Harry Potter, and he just is talking to her like, no, this is your power. And I was like, okay, you're not the Emperor from Star Wars, right? And so this whole thing, I really don't like that last sequence. I really don't like it at all. I'm with Dave on that 100%. But I actually didn't mind it being, because we saw her do the superhero shit, but we didn't really see her go ham on it. So I was okay. I was ready for the superhero reveal. But I wonder if the stakes were too high, not in the sense that she had to fight not Apollo. What's
Ares?
The god? Ares. Not that she had to fight Ares, and the flip that it's not who you think it is. It's not what's that guy's name? It's not Danny Houston. That it's actually David Thewlis, who is British. So the Brits have Ares, and they still get fucking bombed. And whatever. Fine.
Yeah, they do. Fucking colonials.
So I didn't even mind. I didn't mind that at all. That was actually really
Thanks
good
for
flip.
listening.
That was a good flip. But the stakes are so high on this war that she can't end the war unless she beats Ares, I guess. But then they have to have this whole battle sequence because now they have all these other characters that have to do something. So they're all doing this like tangential mission. So these two missions, it's not the Star Wars thing where you have big, medium, huge, or you have like the huge space battle, and then you have like the medium size this battle, and then you have like Luke and the Emperor, and it's like they manage that really well. In this movie, I don't need to see the rest of anything else on the war. It was just her against Ares. I don't know, for some reason I feel like the structure of just specifically that leading up to her against Ares with the war going on, for some reason it doesn't check out for me. But I didn't mind a lot of it, but it didn't blow me away. I'm not being.
Do you think that's because? Do you guys think that's because? And I'm going to tip my hat because y'all know where I stand.
She's
on
amazing.
The whole...
I think she helps a lot, but she's also needing to learn. She doesn't know anything, and I think that's a tricky place for your main character to be in. Sorry, John, back to you.
No, yeah, that's totally true. But when you're dealing with a super virtuous, one of the most powerful people in the universe character like a Superman or a Wonder Woman, I think they did a good job of dodging the bullet of, well, she can't fight all the time. She's just going to kill everybody all the time. Like it's just never interesting when the most powerful person in the universe fights. It's always hard to create obstacles against that. So part of me, I hear what you guys are saying.
Nazis, so you're on board automatically.
I know. And I also wonder if they took a note from the Captain America movies and thought, let's put her in a period war so that we can have her find her place, looking at the concept of good and evil, and then ultimately we'll have her. I don't know.
And I like the flashback device. That, I know this is canon, but the fact that she's comfortable and happy working in a museum, which comes up in the second movie too, and then we go back and see her fighting. Like crazy. I like that device. I think that works really well, and she's great. She is really great. It's just the end battle doesn't work for me, so I'm trying to figure out why. Developing the bomb, there's just something. I just feel like there's something else other than her and Ares.
I think the end battle doesn't work.
Dialogue against each other for 10 minutes.
I think the end battle doesn't work because it's the Superman problem. Like the only person they could get her to fight is a god.
Yeah.
And then it's just two gods fighting. Like there's just nothing interesting about it.
It's just like they're in a city where they're trashing buildings.
And we know she's gonna win. That it's like
maybe this is why. Here you go. Let's use my favorite DC character. Whenever Batman would find his way with really good villains, and whether or not we love the Joker, and there's a lot of representations of their climaxes in different movies and comic books and TV shows, even with Bane, which some people may not have thought it was as a good one, Ra's al Ghul, there's something that happens emotionally in the fight with the protagonist and antagonist in those movies that you're kind of watching them duke it out as almost equals. And you're waiting for, in this case, Batman to make some emotional turn to actually overcome himself, to overcome the villain, but it's personal. I think that is one reason why this one frustrated me, is that it wasn't Ares that caused that change in her. It was Chris. It was Pine.
I think they knew that, which is why there was that fucking dialogue was driving me insane, where he was like, you know that you and I should be teammates. And she's like, no, I am good. People are good. We should save humans. Humans aren't worth saving. It's like they knew that was the flaw of the movie. But the more they talk, I've been in a yoga, I talk about this all the time. Whenever I'm in a yoga class, and yoga is all about like this kind of like moving meditation, and people are like, come on people, you need to stretch harder today and you need to work harder. You're like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
like,
shut the fuck up.
You need to let me do my moving meditation. If you keep talking at me, I'm just being mad at you, and then I'm not dropping into my breath or whatever.
That's why I don't go to yoga, because this is as far as I stretch, motherfuckers. Like,
I feel like they knew that was a flaw, and rather than, I think they tried to overcompensate, but that dialogue really drove me insane at the end of this. And it's too bad, because I loved her in this movie. I loved all of the guys like responding to her. I love how she used anything to her power. Her looks, obviously, the way she used that, I thought was very effective. And but like, oh man, the final battle.
We gotta call it.
All right, let's do it.
I feel like this is a better summer movie, but I feel like Finding Dory is a better movie. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like this is like such an iconic summer movie, such a moment, but Finding Dory is a better movie. So what the fuck?
Dave, you vote first, and I think we know what it is, just so we can.
Yeah, it's Wonder Woman.
Okay.
All right. Because Jeff, I completely agree with what you just said.
No, I like Finding Dory better. I'm voting for Finding Dory. I don't give a fuck. I really like this movie. I like watching it again, but Finding Dory is a better movie. I'm sorry. This is a better summer movie. Finding Dory is a better movie. I'm voting for the better movie. I know what the bracket is. I don't give a fuck.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just for our listeners' record, John and I have voted for the same movie every single time so far, and it's driven Dave crazy a couple times. But John and I voted for the same movie every single time. Just vote for Wonder Woman. It's okay. You like Finding Dory more, but this is a better. Yeah.
It's not driving me crazy. Go fuck yourselves.
God, you're right, though. I mean, everything you said is true. All right, just to break rank, I'll go Wonder Woman, just because I think we should. I think we should try to split up at some point. But you're not wrong, dude. Like it's so clear. Dory is a seamless film, and Wonder Woman does have some issues, but
it's got that
extra. I'm gonna go eat some popcorn and. Yeah, summer blockbuster. I mean, I've in my own life, I have demonstrated this. I haven't put on Finding Dory for fun. I have put on Wonder Woman for fun.
Have you ever watched Wonder Woman with a woman? Because it is. I mean, it's inspiring. It's cool.
Just the times I saw it in the theater. I think I saw it twice in the theater, and it was fucking cool, man. Sitting around a bunch of women that were like, "Fuck yeah!"
All right, Wonder Woman advances. Dave and John.
Sorry, Ellen.
But Ellen is in Finding Nemo, so she, that movie advanced. So there you go. So here we go, people. We're going to take a very short break to pee and listen to some Dawside, and we're going to come back at you with 2018's highest-grossing film, The Incredibles 2, against 2019's Lion King, quote-unquote, live-action / animated remake that made a fuck ton of money, $1.6 billion. We'll see you soon.
God almighty.
Can you see the timing now, Jeff, right?
It says wrap up. I see. We're back.
We're back.
All right, people. Incredibles 2 against The Lion King. This is it. This is our final battle of our first bracket, because 2020, there was no box office. We did go to the movies during COVID. We did.
Couple of times.
2021, we went, and every single movie we went to, they tried to thank us for going to the movies, and we were like, just
that was the birth of the Nicole Kidman thing, wasn't it?
That's right. We were so ahead of that game. We kept complaining about it. I was complaining about it, and then 2 years later, here we are.
Yeah, 2 years later, there's people hand on heart reciting it, standing up in their chairs. Still,
I mean, you have to get clever. There's the long with the short. Apparently, there's going to be a new one at some point. Anyway,
yeah.
All right. I can't. Well, Wonder Woman moved on. It deserved to. It's great. Can't wait to see it in the next round. Incredibles 2. Before we get to that, we got to talk about what else happened. How did Incredibles 2 become the highest-grossing summer movie of 2018?
I don't know.
I think I can answer that. That was a good transition. I can answer that. It's because number one. All right.
That's me.
Number one.
That's for me. André.
Number one and number two at least domestically, and I'm sure these will still reflect internationally in some order, are Black Panther and the Avengers Infinity War. But these two massively successful Marvel movies did not come out in the summer. So, so they do that. They did that quite a bit. Some
Infinity
of their big
War
ones,
that was pushing it for us. It was close, right? Wasn't that April 27th?
I have April 27th. Yeah, exactly.
It was close. Anything
not a
would
summer
have been
movie,
toast.
though. That
We
is
said
the
May.
Yeah,
That's pushing it. That's pushing it.
So that's why. So Incredibles 2, number 3. Number 4, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, which I believe is the second.
Third.
Yeah.
It's
third?
Second.
Yeah.
Second, because we saw the third last year.
The fact that we had to have this discussion tells you why it's not on our show tonight.
Yes. Yes. The second one is that one with the trailer with the animals, the dinosaurs falling into the ocean, because the island was erupting and shit. Number 5, Deadpool 2. I would say an even better movie than Deadpool 1.
You wouldn't be wrong.
The baby dick and the X-Force sequence. Those two sequences alone just make it a better.
You can spoil it now, but the X-Force sequence is the best fucking practical joke.
God damn
the
it,
long game practical
so
joke
funny.
I've ever seen.
The commitment to it is
so fucking
good.
mad.
Really good. Number 6, Dr. Seuss's The Grinch. I don't even know what this is. They remade this.
Yeah.
I don't even.
Was this animated?
What are they talking about? Wait, what?
I think it was animated.
And I think
nobody internationally gave a fuck about this movie.
I think Benedict Cumberbatch is the Grinch. It's like he voices the Grinch. Is that right? Am I pulling that out of my ass? Anyway, that's number 6.
I don't know, man.
Somehow November. Number 7, Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle. I did see that one.
Yeah.
That was actually pretty funny.
That was quick.
That came out the year before, but it came out at the very end of the year.
That was a worthy successor.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, you did. That. Number 8, Mission Impossible Fallout, which...
Oh, it's so good. It might be the best, right?
I really, 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 really love this movie. I think this movie is so fucking fun. Oh, man.
So good.
Halo jump. Get out of here. Number 9, Ant-Man and the Wasp. Moving on.
Oh,
number 10. Number 10. Solo, Can You See It? A Star Wars Story. Can you literally physically see it? Because it's so...
Dave, you love it.
Dark.
It's so dark.
That movie had multiple changes. Multiple changes and directors and some other key crews and
it's funny. This has been happening a lot.
I did not mind that movie nearly as much as I think other people were complaining about it. I thought it was a fine addition.
Rewatches are good on it, and I feel like nobody knew what to do with the fact that there were no Jedi and Sith in it. It was all like shades of grey. Everyone was a rogue.
I also feel like they didn't know what to do with the characters, so they just gave them some action and some sequences to work through, and that works.
The dark stuff. I'm wondering because now, like Amazon Prime is specifically notorious for this. I'm getting stuff on my HDR TV, and it looks like it's been graded for 10,000 nits, and I've only got 1,000 nit TV, so it's like either compressing it down or just cutting the top off, and because it literally can't display anything higher than 1,000 nits, so I'm getting all the dark.
Does it create noise?
No, it doesn't create noise. It'll just. I'm not sure whether it's compressing. I don't think it is because you get the full range. Then it'd just look weird. But what it looks like I'm getting is half the range. And it because it's a
brightness or what do you mean?
Of contrast detail.
Contrast, yeah.
Like the dynamic range of the picture doesn't look right, and it looks like they've only done a 10,000 nit one, and they're just throwing that at 1,000 nit TVs. I don't know if that's actually the case, but that's what it bloody looks like, and if that's what it is, that's lazy.
10,000 nits per unit.
10,000 nits is a level of brightness.
Okay.
Simplest way I can put it without going scientific.
I think my only big criticism about that movie is, unlike Rogue One, this was the first time where I feel like they were very, very consciously saying, like, cha-ching, let's make some spin-offs of some characters that everybody knows and loves, and who do we love more than Han Solo? Yeah. And just to think of those two as comparisons, putting a lot of time and money into releasing them within that trilogy time period, for me, there's just no question. I think the problem that you had, Jeff, arose because they had to try to justify a really strong supporting character in a lead role now, as opposed to taking an anecdotal story and doing whatever they wanted with it just as long as it justified, getting the plans to I feel like there was a lot more opportunity for original storytelling. Yeah. Whereas this one kind of felt like they were relying on a lot of the tongue-in-cheek Han, as
again,
opposed to...
it's like, one, how do you recast Harrison Ford? It's almost impossible. Someone's really got to bring their A game. No one could agree on what the tone should be. And it was a case of they kind of just threw out a character that had, 18 minutes screen time in the movie?
I don't think they found...
And built a mythology around him.
And they could be wrong. Like, there's a million Joker films that kind of guess, who the Joker is a little bit and kind of show you that. I don't think they found the pinch of what makes Han Solo. And so they just did some shit with somebody that kind of acts like Han Solo, and they called him Han. That's it for me. But it was very entertaining, though. It was very entertaining.
Best part of this movie is by far who? Guys,
Lando.
Who is it? Fuck yeah. Donald Glover's Lando Calrissian. It's on point, dude. He's
writing the series. Yeah, he's writing the series. The Lando series. Him and his brother.
Oh,
his brother are,
cool.
yeah. He still wants to go with it.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah, I'm on board.
Guys. Jeff, what do we got for the rest of the year?
That was a top 10?
Yeah, we just blew 10 minutes talking about Solo.
Did you talk about Aquaman and Bohemian Rhapsody and Venom and all this shit?
That's 11, 13, and...
Yeah, we don't need to talk about them.
Okay, anyway. Again, a lot of movies in China are making a fuck ton of money this year. I'm going to mispronounce them, so I'm not going to say any of them, but a lot. Ready Player One made a lot of money, except not in America. Nope. Bumblebee came out this year. A Star Is Born made $400 million. So there's still there's still money to be made in quote unquote, meaningful movie movies.
Multiple.
Here we go again. Made some money.
Still money to be made in the fifth remake of a film.
Right. Also, by the way, Solo, a Star Wars story, only made $150 million outside of America. So the rest of America was like, do we need to give a fuck about this? No, the answer is no. Yada, yada, yada. I'm sick of reading. There's so many records about Black Panther and Infinity War. They came out earlier in the year than these big movies. So they set all these, Black Panther set all these February records. Infinity War set all these April records. I don't give a fuck about any of them. So I'm not going to read any of them. In the first quarter of 2018, China overtook North America as the largest box office market for the first time. China grossed $3.17 billion in the first quarter compared to North America's $2.89 billion during that, which included Black Panther, which is big. Because at first I read this and I was like, well, we're talking about summer movies because Americans go spend a shit ton of money. John, this is an audio podcast and we're just watching John's dogs fight on his bed.
Yeah, go to YouTube if you want to see the
I don't hear any of this, California, by the way, so they're very silent, but there's just California dog fighting in their bedroom. That is so fucking funny. Is there anything else I give a shit about? Oh, this is important. I think this is kind of cool. The weekend of March 9th through 11th, it was Black Panther's fourth week, and it was still number one at the box office with $40 million.
Fuck.
Which is the third highest fourth week of all time. And Ava DuVernay's A Wrinkle in Time, which is not a good movie, by the way, opened at the number 2 spot. Shit.
Yeah.
Actually, it's going to fuck this stat up. Because it's supposed to be a good statistic, but that movie's just not good. So Ryan Coogler's The Black Panther was the number 1 movie, and Ava DuVernay's A Wrinkle in Time was the number 2 movie. That is the first time in history that the number 1 and number 2 spots were both directed by a black director.
Yeah.
2018. Good. It just never happened.
Not good that it took so long, but...
So hopefully that's not. Hopefully, obviously, this is something that's.
Yeah. Hopefully, we'll see changes.
Yeah. Awards.
Shout out to Ryan Coogler's James Deacon, the Team Deacons podcast.
I just listened to it. It was great. He was great.
God, so inspiring. I mean, man, he's the man.
Schindler's List was the first. Not Schindler's List, of course. Pulp Fiction was the first ever screenplay he read. He was like, it's probably not the best first screenplay to read.
Right.
Wow.
He does not stick to convention.
But Quentin just put the screenplay on the. How cool is that? He just put it on the DVD. If you bought the DVD,
yeah, it was the first. Yeah, that's so cool.
Okay, this is not everyone's favorite award season, 2018. So
19.
2018 into 2019. So it was the 2019 Oscars, but we're still talking about the 2018 film.
Okay. Yeah.
So Green Book won Best Picture. So already you lost all the woke people for sure. Green Book won Best Picture. Alfonso Cuarón won Best Director, Best Cinematographer, and Best Foreign Language Film. That name was changed later for Roma. So Green Book and Roma, that's a year that'll get everybody to go to watch the Oscars. The acting awards went to Rami Malek for Bohemian Rhapsody, which he was great in that movie, but a lot of people were like, come on, guys, this is not exactly like fucking Dog Day Afternoon. Christian Bale was also awesome in Vice. I think there was some political avoiding going on. But anyway, Olivia Colman, this is the moment of the Oscars, is Olivia Colman winning for The Favorite. And she gets up there, she goes, I got an Oscar. Like, she can't fucking contain herself. She's so funny in this. But Glenn Close for The Wife, a lot of people thought was going to win. Mahershala Ali won his second Oscar for Green Book. I'm going to say this again, guys. Mahershala Ali has 2 Oscars. And then he got paid scale to be in the second season of fucking Rami. All right, people, like, you got to give Mahershala some fucking attention, all right? He has 2 Oscars. Come on.
Isn't he Blade now? When they finally get around to releasing that?
Well, yes. So he finally should be making some money. Whatever.
And he won an Emmy. Didn't he win for season 3 of True Detective?
I don't think he won that Emmy, but I could be wrong.
Okay, sure.
Regina King won for If Beale Street Could Talk. She won the supporting actress. Spike Lee won for co-writing Black Klansman, and then he walked out of the ceremony when they read Green Book.
He fucking walked out.
But just to be clear, even though only screenwriters vote for screenwriting, it's a little funny that he won an Oscar, and then essentially the same people who gave him an Oscar voted for somebody else, and he walked out. Very interesting conundrum for Spike. Green Book won a screenplay, so that's hilarious. For again, the woke mob was not happy about this year for sure. Spider-Verse won Best Animated Film. I mean, he folds a full pizza in half and tries to eat it. So you watch some things like that, and you're like, okay, I get why. You know what I mean? But also like the context and stuff. Yada yada.
It is so much better than you think it's going to be based on what the story is. You
can tell a story about anything,
but it's a good movie.
I know
it's the best movie of the year, but it's really good.
I know it's a white driver with a black artist. I get it. And they're like, why don't they just make the movie about the black artist? They did. They just put it from his point of view. And there are plenty of movies that do a similar device, but it gets compared to Driving Mrs. Daisy. And anyway, there are a lot of things about it that are very well done. That's what I think. But yeah. I also get I get it. Free Solo won Best Documentary. I've seen that movie so many times. I love Free Solo. It freaks me out every fucking time, and I know he lives because he was at the ceremony. But god damn it, Free Solo is so good. Ludwig Göransson. He didn't say
a word. By the way, I felt like that was so funny when they went up to accept for that. Do you remember that? He was just like standing in the background, and they were like thanking their families. And he was just like the guy who did this incredible act is just like chilling on stage.
But they were all said there like we were hanging off the side of a mountain just waiting for this guy to fucking do this. Yeah. He also has the Michael Phelps thing where he doesn't get lactic acid, and he like doesn't get, when his heart rate goes up, like it doesn't stress him out. Like his body just doesn't produce the fear juices. Which is why he's able to climb mountains without a fucking harness and not worry about dying. It's really crazy.
It's also why he probably will die one day doing that kind of shit.
Oh my god! I watched a different climbing documentary. I watched a different climbing documentary about this guy that was like even better than him, and then he fucking dies by the end, and it's like, oh my god, I can't believe I just watched this documentary, and then all of a sudden they're like, and then he went on a hike one day, and that was it. It was like, oh, Shallow won Best Song.
Got him.
Shallow won Best Song. You might remember that. So Lady Gaga got her Oscar.
Yeah.
She cried a lot when she won that award, but it's very moving. Very moving.
Very awkward performance.
Yeah, and Bohemian Rhapsody won both. Black Panther won production design, and I think it was the first ever black costume designer to win too. So I think that's a huge award if I remember correctly. Bohemian Rhapsody won both sound awards, and actually they incorporated like the Dolby effect that we now would like come to know and love, the Dolby Cinema. They incorporated that into the initial sound design, even for regular theater. So I listened to a podcast with the guy that did the sound for Bohemian Rhapsody, and it won. It was a good movie. It was a good movie. Yeah. It was just a little commercial. Anyway, we have no time. That's all the time we have for this segment.
Let's just pick one.
Did you guys talk about Incredibles 2? Did you guys watch it? I mean, did you guys rewatch it?
Yeah,
I rewatched it.
I did. What do you guys think?
Dave?
Wow! Don't leave it all out there at once. Like
I've got.
No, I'll start. I'll start if you want me to.
Yeah,
I watched it. You guys, I watched it like maybe night of our last recording, which is 2 weeks ago, or like right after that, Monday or Tuesday. And I know I enjoyed watching it. But today I was looking over some information about it, and I didn't remember all of it, which made me kind of think like, I know I enjoyed watching it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's really good.
It's really good.
And it just didn't really like ring after the echo of the experience. Just didn't really stay with me. But I enjoyed all of it. I think it's really, no surprise, like all these Pixar movies, and especially with the success of the first one, the structure is really clean. the evolution of these characters was fun. They switched the perspective, and now it's mostly, about Elastigirl and Holly Hunter, the mother's character, kind of leading it now. And then there's a lot of wonderful commentary on women in the workplace versus mother and family obligations, and her navigating that as well. The inverse is true with Craig T. Nelson as Mr. Incredible, struggling to stay at home. So those things are right there. They're almost on the nose. The way they talk about them is just so obvious, but you can, you get away with that with good animation. It's okay. It wouldn't be okay if it was live. It's okay because it's animated. And ultimately I loved the twist with the villains. I thought it was really fun that, Bob Odenkirk and Catherine Keener, the brother-sister duo, you think it's going to be Bob Odenkirk. You think the guy with all the money, and she's kind of in, the twist that she's actually the one behind it. As charming as that is, I think it just didn't have quite enough juice for me to feel like it was significant. And I think that might be my only criticism about it. The twist, when you find out that Catherine Keener is the one behind it, because she's kind of in the backseat of the organization, and her brother is a little bit more naive and optimistic about this, the death of their father, and like how they both got wrapped up into this, and that ultimately she has evil motives. It lands, it makes sense on the page, but like looking back on the film, it just didn't really matter for me, even though we all agreed that when we watched the first one, God, who's the villain? I'm making this point, and now I'm trying to remember the name of the villain in the first one. But I remember when we chatted about it. That one, for some reason, I can think of him, even though I can't remember his name. It's kind of like Benji in Mission Impossible. I think of that character and what he did in that story.
Was it Jason Lee or Wallace Shawn that was the villain in the first one?
Jason Lee, I think.
Was it Jason Lee? Buddy Pine? Syndrome voice? Syndrome?
Yeah, Syndrome.
Yeah, right. Wouldn't that be him? Yeah. So for some reason that rings true and has a stronger after effect of, and I guess that's what equals significance.
Yeah. Dude, if it's Wallace Shawn, you can tell it a mile away.
Yeah, of course. This movie is extremely rewatchable, but when you talk about rewatchable versus significance, sometimes the significance is so intense that you don't need to rewatch the movie as often. But a rewatchable movie should also have enough significance so that it keeps pulling you back. There's something that you're chasing for that rewatch. And as much as I enjoyed watching this, I was really shook today when I was kind of looking down at my notes and looking up the IMDb pages that I was talking to Elizabeth, and I was like, dude, what the fuck happened in that movie? I just watched it like a week and a half ago.
Dude, that's like me every time I watch Event Horizon. I still can't tell you how that fucking movie ends. But
oh, come on. Sam Neill is like, it's okay, you're here. And the visor comes up. And I'll forget that by tomorrow. But I rewatch it every time, but it fucks me up at the end and I forget how it ends. But I will say, to your point with that, the animators are usually really good with this sort of thing. Like if they're going to pull a whammy with that sort of villain, on the rewatch, you pick up hints. There's little bits of action and stuff they get them to do that, like you can see it if you're doing it on the rewatch. Those breadcrumbs,
and they didn't do it for some reason in this. Like there's no real hint. Like for instance, for example, I recently rewatched WandaVision, and on the rewatch, there's so many fucking hints that are right there in front of your face of what's going on. You're like, how did I miss that? Like, but it's so much. It's fun to watch the second time through because there's little bits of action or something in the corner of a frame, or that's hidden. And this one just didn't have it. So when they pulled off that twist, it kind of felt a little cheap.
Especially to your point, I think the place where they would have planted a lot of those seeds are they establish a new villain, Screenslaver, and he is kind of this surrogate for Catherine Keener. What we eventually find out in the final twist, of the third act, not even going into the third act, like the actual resolution. And they don't, I guess that's a good point, Dave. Like they make you genuinely think the Screenslaver is independent until she finally does have a fight with him at the midpoint of the movie, and she pulls off his goggles and realizes he didn't even know what he was doing. He was hypnotized. Now, maybe we could say that the hypnotizing is the first time we think, okay, they're trying to deflect and we're supposed to think it's Bob Odenkirk, Like, of course it's him. This guy who's so,
of course.
He's so optimistic. He's so positive. It has to be this cheesy guy, this big business guy. But I know what you mean. Like, it does kind of just feel like they're hoping that deflection will be enough. And when I watched it, it worked. But after the fact, I just don't know if I'm very excited about it. I don't know if I feel like if that's a super
I know exactly what you mean.
Choice.
Like I rewatched it, and I'm having trouble coming up with examples of stuff. It was fun to watch, and now it's over. That was my whole thing with it. It didn't really.
All right, how about this then?
Elevate above
what
that.
I think is what my favorite parts about the second one are what's happening with the family, not the villain. And that kind of takes me back to our Wonder Woman concept. It was more interesting what was happening to me in their dynamics. They give a lot more screen time to the daughter and the brother, and then the baby starts revealing Jack, whatever his name is, starts revealing all his powers. And so what's happening with the family dynamics and then the switching of the roles with the parents of who's going to be there, who's going to be in the house, that is what I think of when I think of Incredibles 2. It is very much an afterthought who the villains are and who they're fighting. It almost doesn't matter. So in a sense, it kind of feels like, oh, here we go. I'm going to make this comparison. Ready? It kind of feels like season 2 of The Crown, where I loved season 2 of The Crown because it wasn't as much about these historical touchstones. It was much more about their relationships. And with The Crown, I don't know if that, was historically accurate, but I enjoyed their going away from those touchstones and thinking more about them actually interacting with each other behind closed doors. This one, I feel like Incredibles 2 does something very similar. But what's the cost of that? The exact conversation we just had about Wonder Woman. If you don't have that catharsis at the end of it, where they overcome evil, there's just not a fulfillment of the genre that you're really hoping for. Something that's going to come at the end where they save the day. And this one I just don't know if it has that.
So there you go, America. Now you've got homework. You have to go out and watch The Crown to get what we were just talking about, because I know half of you haven't seen it.
You're welcome too. It's such a good show.
I feel like it's just a really good popcorn flick. We could just call it out what it is. I mean, I saw this in the theaters, and I thought I saw it opening weekend, and the theaters was packed. And I honestly hadn't seen the first Incredibles when I saw it. I watched The Incredibles after seeing Incredibles 2. Not the first time I did that, not the last time it's going to happen. And it's just so fucking fun. It's just a really fun movie. It's just really, really, really fun. I'm with you on it, except I was excited and I was entertained in the theater. So I feel like this does work well. And I also completely agree that when I pushed play on this movie, I thought for a second, I have no fucking idea what this movie's about. And I saw it in theaters 5 years ago. And I remember watching it in a full audience that loved it. And I remember thinking, I was thinking, Samuel L. Jackson's the villain? Is this his character turn on them? Like, he pretends to be their friend and he's the villain? Like, I remembered nothing other than he was in it. And I remember I remember it opened. I kind of assumed, but it all came back to me when I watched it.
Does this movie fucking hypnotize us while we're watching it? So you can never remember the ending?
I don't know. So good that we can't remember the ending.
Rewatching it, it was really, I had a really good time rewatching it. And you're saying you remember the parenting things. I probably will remember the our superheroes good or bad with the boat. Now that I've rewatched it, I probably will remember that. Good call. Like where they have, and I thought it would have even been more interesting, but this is just me coming back. Oh, it's actually that they hire the good superheroes and the bad superheroes. So they hire the good superheroes to beat the bad superheroes, which would be good for business. So then, you know what I mean? So they it's like, they do that with like chemical companies, movies, they hire the opposition so they can beat the opposition to look good or whatever. But anyway, I thought that would be it. It's very entertaining, but I know in a year I'm going to forget it again. So I'm in a weird spot because there's nothing wrong with this movie. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm not even going to sit here and be like, I wish the villain was blank. The villain worked for me. The twist worked for me. It was totally fine. It was just simple and clean. I don't know.
Yeah, that is so weird that we are all, not that it's not weird that we're all in agreement. Sometimes that happens, but it's weird that we all feel the exact same way, very specifically. There's nothing wrong with it. I enjoyed watching it. I don't remember it.
I remember the house. I remember the baby with powers. I didn't remember the plot at all. I thought Samuel L. Jackson was the villain. I forgot. I had no idea.
Yeah, so weird. But I enjoyed it. Let's do it. Let's keep going.
It was a really, really fun movie. Our final year. Final year of our bracket, 2019, before the whole fucking hell broke loose. Guys, these fucking numbers. Oh my God. I'm just going to say, John, you're going to talk about domestic movies. 9 movies made $1 billion this year. 9 movies that came out in 2019 made $1 billion. You're telling me that the movie industry was not fucking furious that the movie industry shut down the next day for COVID? 9 movies made $1 billion in 2019. John, what movies? Let's talk domestic numbers for a second, because that's our gig. What's up? What happened domestically in 2019? 9 movies made $1 billion this year. 9.
It is hard to fathom. All right. So number 1, no surprise, I mentioned Infinity War last time, so we all know what is number 1 this year. It's Endgame. They earned it. Came out in April 26th, just like Infinity War, so we didn't count it.
Dave, you know the answer is yes. Fuck, I buzzed myself.
I'll take it.
The Lion King, number 2. Number 3, anybody who listens to this podcast is...
How is The Lion King number 2 this year? How the fuck did this Lion King remake make the second most... There are 9 movies that made $1 billion, and The Lion King remake is number 2. How did this happen? I know we just talked about Beauty and the Beast.
They waited the perfect time. Every parent has a kid now, and they want to expose them to what they've seen, but they'll see it in the CG that the kid is familiar with. So it's it's perfect for everyone. It's like a Sonic thing.
By the way, I know Spider-Man Far From Home, which is coming up. Sorry, John. Is not a Disney property. Technically, it's a Sony property, which gets punted. But if you count that as Disney, if you put it in MCU in for some way, the top 7 of these movies are all fucking Disney again. So no wonder that Disney Plus came out. Everybody's like, oh my God, they're doing Disney Plus. Of course they're fucking doing Disney Plus. Sorry, John.
Just really quickly, do we even feel comfortable saying it that way? Because like when Marvel makes it, there is a studio dedicated to that. There is a dedicated Pixar studio. Back in the 80s, would we have said Coke made this movie when they owned whatever they owned in the 80s? You know what I mean? It's almost like they don't touch Marvel's. I know do you know what I mean? It just feels a little weird. You're not wrong. They do own them, but Disney did not make Pixar movies or Marvel movies. But I know what you mean. It's fucking Frozen. Okay,
they did for a little while when that other idiot took over. They were interfering with the production.
Number 3, everybody who listens to this podcast, as I was saying, is waiting for us to have Mark back on so we can talk about it. Frozen 2 is number 3.
Yes.
Number 4 is Toy Story 4. Isn't that cute? Number 5 is Captain Marvel. Number 6, Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. So the end of the new trilogy. The end of the new trilogy.
Yeah. They rise at the end.
Number 7. Apparently, yeah, sure. Yeah. Number 7, Spider-Man Far From Home. So many Palpatines. Number
just fucking
8.
Kill Chewbacca. Don't fake kill Chewbacca. Just fucking zap him. If you're gonna kill him, fucking kill him.
Yeah, don't be scared. I know. I feel, dude. That could have been such a consequential sequence.
Cowards.
That could have been huge.
It was.
No, I thought
we
they were
got
going
Ray
to do
to
it.
cry, and then we said, okay, let's make Ray stop crying by having him come back because it was a different ship in the desert. Are you fucking kidding me, you cowards? The different ship in this desert just happened to take off at the exact same time that Chewbacca was going to.
When was the last time you watched it? It feels fresh. The anger feels fresh.
No, he hangs on to it, dude. You've heard the Toy Story thing.
Number 8. Aladdin live action, another live action Disney movie.
Will
And
Smith.
Number 9, Joker, that's a big deal, you guys.
Yeah, that is.
None of the other, like, generally speaking, the Oscar movies haven't really been making it into these top 10s for the summer or for the year, excuse me, domestically. That made it in. And then number 10, following up to last year's, It Chapter 2.
Yeah.
The culmination of that R-rated
Did
Stephen
not do
King
as well
classic.
as the first one.
Domestically. Internationally, yeah, not so much. Will Smith turned down Django Unchained, but Aladdin, yeah, knock yourself out, Will. All right.
That was almost the movie we were talking about.
He turned down Neo too. Did you know that?
Yes, but that one is funny because he just didn't get it, and I kind of get it. He was getting offered every single movie. Can you imagine reading like 10 scripts a week and that's one, and you're just like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. I need more time with that. Okay. I think you did a good job. Joker 2 coming out Halloween 2024. Can't wait. Jumanji Next Level somewhere in there too. Fast and the Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw. Made a lot of money internationally, not as much here as you would think. And then we have 1, 2, 3 Chinese films in the top 16. So China again, killing it. All right. I'm skipping the MCU accolades. I can't take it anymore. Disney Studios became the first studio.
Jesus.
Disney Studios became the first studio in history to surpass $10 billion in worldwide box office grosses. Aladdin became the highest grossing release of all time in the Middle East. Look what happens when you actually cast appropriately. Man, that first Aladdin, they were really white, considering they were from Agra. Let's see. It also is the highest grossing film in Japan to date, Aladdin. It also
the fuck?
And it's the highest grossing Will Smith movie. Parasite. This is the year of Parasite, people. The movie Dave refused to watch until we watched it on our podcast, and then of course he fucking liked it.
Oh, yeah. I can't stop. I'm just imagining hordes of Japanese people going to the theater to see Aladdin. I don't understand.
Yeah. See Will Smith with all that charisma.
Why did they do that?
Please tell me there was cosplay. There is
Parasite. Bong Joon-ho won 4 Oscars this year for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Film Not in the English Language. They changed the category, as we had mentioned, might happen after Roma. And the Original Screenplay category. Bong Joon-ho won 4 Oscars. He was really funny. Here are the other movies nominated for Best Picture. I'm just because I like them all. I think this is a good year. Ford versus Ferrari, fantastic film. There's your James Mangold shout out of this segment. The Irishman, Al Pacino should have won that Oscar. More on him later. Jojo Rabbit. What? That was this year? Joker, Little Women, Marriage Story, 1917, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. This was our first ever episode. It was essentially right around the time the Oscars were announced.
God, what a year.
Yeah.
What a great year.
Joaquin won for the Joker, of course, and then asked everybody to become vegan in a very productive way. I thought it was a great speech. And they played the music, and then he mentioned, but my brother wrote, and then he's talking about River, and so they shut the music off. Really funny speech. Renee Zellweger won for Judy, and I feel like the rest of the world just sort of swept that under the rug. But Renee Zellweger won a second Oscar. Brad Pitt category frauded his way into an Oscar here for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Apparently, he was a supporting actor, even though the entire third act was about him, and he had basically as much screen time, if not more, than Leo. But he was a supporting actor. This category fraud. We came up with that basically because of this year, right?
Yeah, right.
Because you also had, the movie's called Two Popes, and one of the popes was a supporting pope.
Right? Do they? Yeah.
This fucking movie. God, I feel and then Al Pacino for The Irishman, who is so good. This is the best Al Pacino performance in like 3 decades, and he loses to people who are leads. It's unfair. Anyway, where did I leave? Laura Dern won for Marriage Story, which is a very moving, powerful movie. Is that Noah Baumbach? It's a really good movie. Very tough to watch. Really good. Taika Waititi won Best Screenplay for Jojo Rabbit, beating Little Women, of course. That was for adapted screenplay, but wrote a fucking fun movie. Taika, good for you. Toy Story 4 won animated film. Of course it did.
Yeah.
Ford versus Ferrari, which is awesome, won sound editing, which is awesome. And I think it won film editing, but I forgot to look that up. Joker won Best Score, and Hildur Goose. Oh my God, it auto-corrected me, so I'm going to botch. I can't do this. It changed her name. That's not her name. No,
don't do it. Don't do it. We'll get complaints.
Won Best Score, which I think is really cool. Elton John and Bernie Taupin won Best Original Song for Something from Rocket Man that none of you know the name of that fucking song. None of you at home listening know that song that won Best. Yeah. Sound mixing went to 1917, as did cinematography. Back to Roger Deakins. He wins 2 Oscars in 3 years after going through all of the fucking Coen Brothers canon, after going through all of these decades of films. He gets 2 in 3 years. And then other notable movies, I'm going to shout out Bombshell, Little Women, The Irishman, and The Lighthouse. Any movies you want to shout out from this year?
No, I think we nailed it, dude.
Yeah. All right, let's go.
We're already on the wrap up for
for people watching at home.
Maybe I'll include Ad Astra, and then we can move.
Ad Astra's cool. Brad Pitt, shout out. Yeah, he probably had more screen time in fucking
Uncut Gems.
Uncut Gems is cool. Shout out Adam Sandler. Brad Pitt probably had more screen time in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood than he did in Ad Astra, and he was the lead of Ad Astra. Anyway, let's go. We're talking about... I can't believe we're talking about this movie. This is so funny. We're talking about Lion King, which also won Best Animated Film. No, it didn't. It was nominated for Best Animated Film, I think. Who the fuck cares? Let's talk about Lion King.
That's fucking category.
Guys, I'm going to guess. Was this the first time all of us have seen it?
No, I saw it in theaters.
Oh, so you're one of the schmucks that gave him all that fucking money. You
No, this is not considered an animated movie. This is not considered. Yeah, I have fucking A-list. It was nominated for best visual effects.
Oh, that's funny.
This is my first time seeing it.
Dave?
Unbelievable visual effects.
John Favreau,
Unbelievable.
of course. Oh
Yeah.
my god, the
Like,
time
really,
lapse
really
at the
crazy.
beginning. The time lapse at the beginning was great.
Yeah,
You can see the ants in Circle of Life.
Oh,
Not
is it?
just the
Yeah,
animals;
yeah,
they showed the little critters too.
this is weird. I'm sorry to like give a preface. I know I do that too much, but like I kind of have to say this just because for so long I kind of just chose I'm not going to see these Disney remakes. So I think I did see Aladdin at some point, unfortunately, and that's the only one that I've actually seen. So this was the second of the live action. No, I know I've seen Aladdin, but I don't think I've seen an entire of the other ones until today when I watched this Lion King. So I've kind of just been pushing these off.
By the way, I don't know why Disney let us get away with that, but that was fine. Okay, go ahead.
No, it's great. So I kind of just been pushing them off. So I guess I just want to say that as somebody who grew up with them, I of course I can't quite speak to them objectively because there's always going to be a little bit of comparison, and I don't even feel bad about that because they're doing it too, right? Like they're making these movies based on the original versions. Some of them are nearly shot by shot, and some of them are a little bit looser, but they're still the story.
They want us to take our kids. Little do they know we don't have kids. So there you go.
Yeah. So there's still the story. There's still the song. So if I'm being honest with you, more than anything else, I was mostly impressed with the visuals. Because I know the story already.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there was just, I don't know if there was anything new that was better than the animated one. There were some things about it that were also really, really fucking incredible. But I don't know if anything transcended the other one other than the visuals were just remarkably accurate. So my only criticism that I think I'll just tap onto it because it's still Lion King. I was still really moved. It's a great story. It's based on Hamlet. It's fucking touching. It's it's really, really epic. It's a real big giant quest tale of an entire young animal's life finding their way back to their purpose through reclaiming their right as a leader of their people. I mean, it's a fucking, it's an incredible tale. All I will say though, that's to be constructive is that an animated feature in 1994 from that generation of Disney was designed to be family friendly and completely airtight. It has a shorter runtime because of that. There isn't as much extraneous dialogue, extraneous storytelling for justification of certain things that this movie very clearly and intentionally chose. No, let's try to go into it. For example, I appreciated that they tried, and I think succeeded, in justifying Nala as an adult sneaking away from the pride to try to go, quote, find help. Yeah. I don't think she was going to find Simba, but she just wanted to get out of there. I'm not gonna lie, I laughed at this shit, but the justification of I think they're big balls of gas, that conversation with Simba, Timon, and Pumbaa. Simba walks away after talking about the circle of life and they laugh at him. And then a piece of his hair goes into the water and drifts into the wind and goes into a tree because a bird carries it there and a giraffe eats it and it gets stuck in the giraffe's shit. And then a bug pushes this ball of shit down the hill and it breaks up, and out of the shit, the Rafiki grabs it and finds it. And you're like, okay, this is circle of life. There were times like that where I thought they went too far and I just didn't think it was necessary. So this is the big picture thing I'll say. There are two. And you're very, very, very successful with the visuals intent to create more realism. You lost some expressive opportunities.
The animals can't smile. They can't be expressive.
The animals can't smile. They can't express. They can't be. So the artifice and the expression of what you can get away with 2D animation is definitely sacrificed in the name of very, very, very fucking realistic looking animals and scenery. It was beautiful and captivating. So that might be one criticism. And the only other one would be, and this is probably just because I am attached to the original one. So you guys, maybe I'm wrong, but talking about Dory and how fantastic those voice performances were, Dave? I was underwhelmed by the voice performances in this movie.
Oh my God, for sure. But there's one that was, did any stand out for you? Give me one.
John Oliver stands out for me. I thought he did a pretty decent job as Rafiki. But are you talking about stand out as good or stand out as exceptionally not good?
Good. I like Billy Eichner as Timon. He really.
Yeah, I think he got close, but because he's with the pair, and I like Seth Rogen a lot. You're talking about iconic, absolutely perfect.
Ernie Sabella.
Yeah, I mean, come on, they're too good.
Every week at karaoke. Like,
yeah, so I don't know. I guess those are my two things. I was a little underwhelmed with the voice performances, and in the intention of realism, they sacrificed some artifice of expression that I think really lended itself to this story. But it's still really moving. I teared up at the right places. I was really emotionally affected.
When Scar got fucked up by those hyenas, that was like, holy shit, that looked really real.
Yeah, I wonder how many. I wonder how many 5-year-olds were fucking terrified after they saw this.
I'll shut the fuck up after this. This is the only criticism that I do feel comfortable saying. Chiwetel Ejiofor is an incredible actor.
Oh, yeah.
He was miscast. That was just not a scary enough voice. You can't bring fucking James Earl Jones, the fucking man, back to do fucking Mufasa, and then cast somebody new who doesn't have as intense of a beautifully expressive, dramatic voice like Irons had in the animated feature, or somebody else from a contemporary world could have had to match it. I was super underwhelmed with that casting and that performance, all the way into his song. I thought his song was really underwhelming. So as brilliant as Chiwetel is, fucking genius, wonderful actor. We've seen him prove his chops time and time again. I just didn't think he was the right casting.
The music didn't help him. Every time he came on, the music got so dramatic, and it was like, we know. Sorry, Dave, you were about to speak.
No. I was just saying, like, I didn't see this in the movies. I saw it when it dropped on Disney Plus one day when I was like, oh, let's give this a look, and sat back and had a good time, and it's fun. And I found my brain doing a really funny thing, where every time a scene from the movie was played out in CG, my brain would see it as the animated version.
Yeah.
So I was the whole way through, I'm referencing another film while I'm watching this one, and I that's a bad side effect of, I guess, just remaking your fucking films in like a different format, especially when something is as popular as this, because like I have just seen this movie on repeat so many times I couldn't even put a number to it. And yeah, given a choice, I would always take the animated over this. In saying that though, like if I was given a choice between the two, I'm going to hit play on the animated one. This looks beautiful. Like they have worked their ass off. The detail in it is amazing. I was a big fan of most of the voil. Yeah,
Dave, the eyelight in the irises and pupils of these creatures was fucking beautiful. How did they do that? It was fucking so realistic.
Yeah, there's an actual light placed in the 3D scene. And it's set to, usually they'll put it there and set it to reflect only off the eyeball. Like only the eyeball references it in the rays when they render. Or it was one of the actual lights. So you can go both ways. But yeah, they do that now in modern animation, and that's a great little technique. But yeah, I just I don't know. It was good. I like that they updated the not in front of the kids gag for a new generation, so it gave the people like the people who were bringing their kids to see it, it gave them something new, and they're like, oh, that's fresh, like it woke up a little bit. But yeah, I don't know, it was the same, and my brain tuned out during the extra bits. It's just like, get back to the story I know.
I think I wrote down on my thing, I was like, this is not a remake, it's a reenactment. I said, this is not a remake, it's a reenactment. It would be like you go to a Disney theme park and they had some actors who wink wink at the audience and say, we all seen the movie, right? Well, we're going to reenact it, but with like fake real animals. And they're going to be wink. Because there were times in this book, because I thought I was going to hate this fucking movie. And I saw it in theaters. And my big thing that I've said on this podcast is the animals can't even smile. So they're singing, I just want to be a mighty king. And they're just like,
that is the worst part in the whole movie.
Yeah.
King. It's just
no. And
that vowel specifically bothered me on their mouths. I was like, that is
so I went into this movie thinking I was going to be furious. It opened with Circle of Life, and Circle of Life is beautiful. But very quickly, I realized, you know what they were doing, which was a huge mistake. It's a huge mistake. They were over-explaining it. We already know what Lion King is, and then they were sitting there and they were saying, I'm trying to find, let me give you some examples. They were saying, there aren't any hyenas left on the lit part of the grounds because Dad chased them all away. We know this about the hyenas. And in the first movie, all they said is, sir, hyenas found in the Pride Lands. Oh, thank you. And that's it. That's it. And then when we see the hyenas later, we go, oh shit, the hyenas. We don't need them to sit there like, oh, we got rid of the hyena. They're over-explaining this to the fucking kids. We're talking to them like they're fucking idiots. And it drove, immediately I was like, okay, I'm right. Even the opening Scar scene with Mufasa, the whole first in line, I was the first in line until he was born. The music and the writing was overwritten. It was overdone. We know that Scar is now no longer next in line, because Simba's there. We know, and we know that he's going to try to become the king. We know this. And they overplayed it, and it drove me fucking insane. And then as soon as that, I put that away, and I was like, okay, I fell back in love because the visuals are so amazing. They're so great, and the lions are so great. Mufasa is a fucking specimen. I don't mind saying this. The Mufasa, every single second Mufasa was on screen, you were beautiful, like, dude. This is the most sensational lion of all time.
And Scar's face, dude.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, God. Scary.
And then they get to the hyenas.
Every time they've done a lion in CG, it's always been like there's just something a little off. There's nothing off about this lion.
It's shocking how realistic it is.
They get to the first time you see the hyenas, and they have Keegan-Michael Key, and he's telling jokes, and they're laughing at each other. And I'm like, well, now the hyenas aren't scary. And then a new hyena comes in, and it's like, oh, she's scary now, and they're still making jokes. And I was like, guys, give us the tension. Let us be scared of the hyenas. Why are you letting these hyenas try to be hilarious? Because now I'm not scared. I'm not scared of the hyenas. And then Simba gets rescued by Mufasa, and Simba talks. Simba's like, sorry, Dad, I just thought I know, but this. And it's like, I'm glad they're teaching kids the lesson that you should talk to share your feelings. But you know what's really fun? Watching Mufasa be like, shut the fuck up and let me tell you, otherwise you're going to fucking die because you should have died tonight, which is what the first movie did. And as a kid, I was sitting there going, okay, I got to learn that lesson. And it was so casual. I was so mad. I was so angry about this. Bambi's dad would have never been like, what are your feelings like, Bambi? Even though we know that's the way kids should be. Come on, you almost fucking died, guy. I got to teach you a fucking lesson here. We'll talk after I get this lesson across, and then we can laugh about the stars being the kings of the past. But Simba's like, I'm sorry, Dad, it's okay. No tension. They fucking destroyed the tension. It fucking made me furious. The voice acting was bad. But the worst thing about this movie, because again, I really thought I was falling back in love with this movie because of the visuals. I thought I was falling back in love with it.
Does not sound like it.
No, I really did, because I was like, it was beautiful. And Billy Eichner was my favorite voice actor, even more than John Oliver. I was like, yes, Billy Eichner's got it. They might as well have Billy Eichner's face on the camera staring at me saying some of these jokes like, you got to leave them wanting more. And then he said something like, you grew 400 pounds since that song started. And it's like, guys, are you trying to be in Africa, or am I I feel like I'm in a fucking Disney theme park watching you reenact this. I just feel like they didn't trust their audience. They talked down to their audience so much in this movie, it made me fucking furious. They talked down to their audience. You know it. You motherfuckers like this movie, and they treated those children like people who had seen this movie, and they were winking directly at the camera at you, and they didn't let you just enjoy this experience. They treated you like children.
You're totally right, dude.
Fuck,
you're totally right. And I felt the same way. And that's the sequence with the introduction of Timon and Pumbaa and the explanation of the philosophy of Hakuna Matata.
It happened so fast.
In the first one.
No, the first one was perfect.
Oh, the first one's perfect, but I feel like this one, they say Hakuna Matata, and then there's this whole new section of that scene before they start the song where they over-explain what the philosophy is to try to say it's meaningless. I can't remember the exact words, of course, but I remember just thinking,
circle the line,
whoa. You took all of the mystique / attractiveness of Simba maybe wanting to understand what this mysterious word means.
It's not, out of it, and it's not meaningless. They literally say in the song, it means no worries.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
they spend so much time explaining it's meaningless and then tell you what it means.
It came from this point of tension where it's like this lion is in distress, and all what they need to say is the right thing, and the right thing is surprisingly, don't worry about it. And they do it in such a way that's like, holy shit, how is that the right thing to say? I can't believe they pulled that off. Whereas in this one, they're like, oh my god, we're gonna say it. Okay, hold on. What's the right way of saying this? And they talk down on us.
It's like they ran the intro of the song through Disney Legal.
I mean, maybe.
I totally agree.
And when you have Nala and Simba finally meet, this is a 2 hour and 7 minute movie. We know what the movie is, and they made it longer. It makes total sense, right? And then you finally get the reunion, and we don't even celebrate the. Oh my god, where have you been? You've been here? What? No, it's a 2-second scene. Oh man, I was bummed. It was too bad.
I feel like that one was longer than normal too. I actually thought that was too long, and then it also really didn't work for me. Donald Glover is a freak of nature talent. Of course, he's a monstrously successful Childish Gambino musical talent. But it didn't work for me when they started singing, and Beyonce was, like fucking virtuoso singing "Can You Feel the Love Tonight," and he's like singing with her, and I felt like we were just there to hear Beyonce sing. It's so many aspects of this movie.
Rolls.
So many aspects of this movie prevented me from doing what I think. What Disney did so successfully in that second generation of their golden age, 2D animation, by casting these enormously successful A-list talent, and not only them, but some of them into their cartoons, they allowed room for those A-list talents and personalities that we knew so well to dissolve into characters. And Pixar is, of course, really, really good at this. I never did that with this version. I don't know if it's because of things like you're talking about, where like Billy Eisner was basically Eichner, however you say his name. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Eichner. Something like that. I never felt that way about Beyonce. I don't know. There were just too many reasons that I felt like were distracting about this. And I guess the last thing I'll say is that kind of what you brought up and kind of what I was saying earlier on, and Dave, I think, was agreeing with me. In some aspects, it started to feel superfluous. And in another aspect, because of the over-explaining and the over-dramatizing, it started to feel like melodrama. And the animated feature never felt melodramatic, even though it's crazy high Hamlet drama.
It wrote a fine line, but it never crossed the line. Crossed the line.
So unfortunately, that's true. But I would have taken my kids to see this happily. If I had children, I would have bought them all the refreshments and enjoyed myself and smiled.
All this stuff was funny. I feel like it was cheap thrills written for Disney Plus. It was written for kids to like laugh, and then go pee and come back and laugh.
Right, it's right in that
because I think I loved when they did the Beauty and the Beast. They did the fake out where they did.
Oh, I didn't like that.
Dinner.
Did you like that?
But at least they. Here's why I liked it. They built up the tension where you're sitting there going, okay, obviously Pumbaa's the bait, and I like the way that they were all staring at it. Why are you staring at me? That's fine. That was fine. And then they were like, your dinner is served. And of course, everybody knows this is Beauty and the Beast. And then Pumbaa's like, nope. And then they run away. I feel like it was a fun little fake out. That I'm okay with. That was winking at the audience without staring directly into the camera.
For me, that was them acknowledging we don't have any new ideas, do we? That was them just basically saying we have become self-referential. We know exactly what these are. We're just selling tickets.
To me, that was we're not going to do a shot-by-shot remake, but at least we can have some fun with this moment. We can at least shake it up a little bit.
I guess so. I still say, and I've said this forever, if they had just re-released their animated features, all of us would have gone back to see them. But they just wanted us to bring our kids and go see them by themselves.
They did those with the 3D re-releases. They did that with Beauty and the Beast and Lion King, and then they remade them, and then they became the highest-grossing movies of all fucking time. So we're the idiots here. Because parents don't know what to do with their kids. They'll throw $100 just to give their kids something to do tonight.
All right. I'm going to vote first. Yeah, even though we were talking we had criticisms about it. I'm going for Incredibles 2. Dave? I just had more fun watching it than this. And we already have Lion King, the first one, in, right? Didn't it make it in?
Yeah.
So, sorry, but no fucking chance I'm getting this one in there as well.
Dave?
Yeah, fuck it. Both these suck. I'm voting for Ghostbusters.
No! Dave, I tried to bring Ghostbusters back a different week, and you said, no, this is our bracket. There are other weeks that you could talk me into Ghostbusters.
I will... I will say Incredibles 2 as well.
Incredibles 2. 3 for 3.
Boom. Done.
They're crying themselves to sleep with their $1.6 billion they made for this fucking movie. 1.6. billion. 1,600 people could have made $1 million and not made as much money as this fucking movie made.
It's just so frustrating that they are the largest, most successful entertainment company in history, and they're remaking old. Like, come on, dude.
John, think about making one $1 million movie. Dave, think about making one $1 million movie. You could have made 1,600 $1 million movies with the money that this fucking movie made.
It's a lot of porn.
Dave, that timing was perfect. With that, my friends, we've got the end of our bracket. Incredibles 2 and Wonder Woman. The alcohol is real, people. Moving on
Alcohol is real.
into our final. I want to explain the bracket to people, but I also don't. Dave, we have some buys coming up next week anyway, but we basically have like 22 movies left that have made it to the next round. We're gonna start fucking rapid firing them head to head. Let's go. Anything you want to add, Dave, about that?
No, I'll bring up the bracket in a second. So you guys talk about what you've been watching. At the end, we'll rattle off what our bracket has sorted itself out as.
All right. I hope people listen to the end. John, what have you been watching? Oh, Dave, we usually start with you. What have you been watching?
I haven't really watched much new this week because I've been a bit flat out with work. But one thing I did catch was Star Trek Strange New World's musical episode.
Ooh.
They went there. First time ever in the history of Star Trek. There's a scientific basis for it. Fuck, it's funny. It's worth it just for some of the funny references to see people like Spock breaking into song. But yeah, there is one highlight moment that I fucking fell out of my chair laughing. So it's the internet is blown up, man. People are fighting about this episode like crazy. I feel like it's going to get Paramount Plus more membership just so people can watch the episode so they can bag the shit out of it.
So, I've been paying for Paramount Plus for like 3 months by accident. Shit, John.
I watched. I finished the Quentin Tarantino class, so I watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And I, because it wasn't included in the curriculum because of the time limitations, I watched Kill Bill 2. So I just watched all of his basically over the last several weeks. That was great. I am rewatching. I came out of our episode last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever we last recorded. And Elizabeth was watching The Descendants, Alexander Payne, George Clooney movie. So I finished it with her, maybe the last half of the movie. And I just enjoyed being in Hawaii and watching drama so much, so I just restarted season 1 of White Lotus. Really good, enjoying that. And then the other night, I went to go see at the Universal City Walk IMAX. This is the screen that Nolan tested Oppenheimer in. So it was a 70 millimeter screening, the full, 1.9 IMAX. And this is my second time seeing Oppenheimer, and God, you guys, I loved it so much. Like the first time I think I really liked it. The second time I loved it. I think it's so good.
I feel like that's one of the ones where there is stuff in there for a rewatch. He's expecting people to see it more than once.
And more than anything else, it might not be that you're going to catch new information, but the overwhelming presentation of the montage storytelling. The first time I saw it, I was a little in my head about it. I still really enjoyed it. The second time, because I knew it, I was able to just live in it more. There was much more emotional depth and character development available to me in the second viewing. Also, and it just landed so hard with that final conversation.
Isn't it just a little bit fun watching an entire movie theater shit their pants when the Trinity fires?
Absolutely. I was ready. I mean, this is a gigantic...
Trinity what? Because I'm seeing it on Monday.
Fires.
This is a gigantic... Test. Yeah, you know what we're talking about. You won't even know what we mean. But it's... really good. I just can't say it enough. I was just so overwhelmed. It's so good. I'm so glad people are seeing this movie. Go watch it if you haven't seen it. If you have seen it, consider seeing it again. I was really overwhelmed by the second viewing. Jeff?
I haven't seen a lot of new stuff. I traveled to go see a piece of theater. Go see your theater, people. It's really fun. Is It Cake? Season 2 has come out, and it's the dumbest. It's my favorite reality show because it's like, I don't want to just support people like reality that's clearly scripted. And I know this is, but I mean, come on. Whether or not something's cake is the best dumb premise for a show.
I cannot wait for the Is It Cake Squid Game crossover.
What? Where you get killed if you don't know if it's cake? Dave, you fucking ass.
Is it cake? I don't know. Stab it.
So is it cake season 2? So anyway, now that I don't have to watch 4 movies a week, I can't wait to finish The Bear season 2, which came out a month ago, and all this other shit that I want to watch. I can't wait.
I started watching Atlanta, by the way, for the first time.
Ooh.
You've never seen Atlanta?
I had never seen it.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's supposed to be good.
We were just talking about Simon
delivering.
Glover, and the seasons got all fucked up because of Star Wars. So there you go.
Mm-hmm.
The head of FX in public said, "Yeah, I don't know when season 3 of Atlanta's coming out, but I'm not going to tell him to not do Star Wars."
And that was a good call because he was the highlight.
FX is.
We have a bracket.
Okay, Dave finishes up with the bracket.
This bracket is some of this is brutal. So next week we will be discussing what goes through in Revenge of the Sith versus Top Gun.
Okay.
Jurassic Park versus Mission Impossible 2. Back to the Future versus Incredibles 2.
Okay.
The Avengers versus Independence Day.
Okay.
Finding Nemo versus The Dark Knight. That's a battle I'll tune in for. And Terminator 2 versus Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest.
Okay, that's going to be fun.
We're going to rattle all through those. We've already talked about them, so we're probably going to do it at high speed.
Yeah, it might be a quick one.
Yeah. And maybe some
Good job, you guys who did it first round down. This has been fun.
First round down. It's been very fun. Dave, thanks for editing as always. Thanks for editing as always, Dave. And we'll catch you next week, film fans. Thank you so much for listening. See you soon.